It's 6 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. Most of the time, pretty crazy, especially this campaign season. My goodness, it's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get that cup of coffee brewing, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Yesterday was an absolutely wonderful day with phone calls and texts, jam-packed phone lines, all 4 hours. We're happy to take your calls again today. Give us a call at 303-696-1971. That's 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. The news this morning, Kamala's got it. She tweeted late last night. Tonight, I am proud to have earned the support needed to become our party's nominee. Over the next few months, I'll be traveling across the country talking to Americans about everything on the line, and I fully intend to unite our party and our nation and defeat Donald J. Trump. Headline out of the Huffington Post this morning: the prosecutor versus the perpetrator. It's all just wrestling, Billy.
Oh, yeah.
That's all we're in. Wrestling has become real life.
It is. I'm surprised that Kamala's gotten all the delegates this quickly. That surprises me.
Because we live in North Korea, dude.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not certain. I think it's the. You think the Democrat Party is that powerful that they can grab all the delegates and make them do what they want?
Oh, yeah.
No.
I think they sent out a message and they were like, get in line. We talked about this, but they've become the get in line people in this election.
Well, the thing is, we talked about it. There's always that bromide that one party falls in love, the other party falls in line. And it's always used by the other party saying the other party, it's always the Democrats always say, oh, it's the we fall in love and Republicans fall in line. And the Republicans always say we fall in love, the Democrats fall in line. So it's always the other party accusing the other one of saying, hey, they fell in line. This one just, I think, is surprising because I don't think, here's the thing. I think the Democrat coalition is like trying to herd cats. They're all over the place most of the time. And that's because of how they govern and how they operate. And I don't think they're necessarily as lock, stock, and barrel on these type of things. Although I do think the party machinery is very powerful, but that's why we didn't see Joe Biden drop out earlier, is because they didn't have an answer. The answer was always, and who's going to run? Until they could answer that question, there wasn't a choice. So now they got it. Now they got the answer, and it's Kamala.
So there's a few things that are shocking to me in all this. One, how quickly they went from Joe Biden is a problem. Joe Biden needs to step down. George Clooney, New York Times, for the love of democracy, please step down to what a great patriot. We're so grateful for all his service. And it took one decision. And then but it's the decision they wanted him to make. The issue wasn't that Joe Biden is an awful president, that it has been a dumpster fire the entire 4 years. The issue was he can't win. That was Clooney's argument, is that you can't win and you're handing this election to Donald Trump. And so that was the issue. That's why he stepped aside. And once he did, he becomes a hero because he did what they needed him to. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Then they've gone from we don't have somebody to I am so excited that Kamala Harris, I was listening to Jared Polis's interview on Fox and Shad's interview, the chairman of the Colorado Democrat Party, about how she's the greatest thing. She's going to be a wonderful president. We're so excited for her. The shifts, man, I can barely keep up with it.
I know.
So much.
It's almost as if we had Nikki Haley endorse Trump or something. That's weird. That never happens in politics. Never.
It's been a wild few days, and we're going to get more into it this morning. Chris Murray, partner with First and 14th Law, is going to join us in just a few seconds. So there are any legal complications around Kamala Harris all of a sudden taking the reins here?
Speaker Mike Johnson says that's illegal. Says this is illegal, that there's some lawsuits that should be filed. That's up here. I've heard that in Republican wings so far. So let's see what Chris says.
Yep. Chris is the expert in that, has done election law for many, many years. And then we'll be covering the Secret Service hearing. Oh, man, that was bipartisan. that is a spot you don't want to be in. And we'll cover both Republican and Democrats' response to the Secret Service hearing that happened yesterday. And then the drama continues, Billy, the 9 o'clock hour. Ted Harvey, former Colorado State Senator, is going to join us defending Dave Williams.
Yeah,
and saying
that
that Steve Peck and the rest of them are engaged in an illegal effort to host a meeting. And in fact, Dave Williams suing some of these folks. So saying that they're illegally utilizing party funds to advance their own.
That's a great look when you're party chairman suing members of your own party. That's fantastic. That really gets people excited about the party. That's fantastic. That's really good. This is not good at all.
So a lot to cover throughout the show. You're going to want to stick with us through this. And what seemed wild last night, like at least a half dozen accounts, including Charlie Kirk, saying that at some point there was a medical emergency when Joe Biden was visiting Nevada. So who knows? We're going to be watching all this, but the guys that's providing the best news analysis, Mr. Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, what's happening, Jeff and Billy? I cannot believe what we've been experiencing the last week. It's just nuts. I'm not getting a lot of sleep. I don't know about you guys. Jeff probably hasn't slept in like 3 weeks or something.
I mean, I literally wake up expecting like a New York Times or Wall Street Journal headline of some groundbreaking, earth-shattering political decision. And we've got, I mean, in the last 10 days, you had the assassination attempt, you had the sitting president withdraw from his presidency, and then you had a wild Secret Service meeting yesterday where both Republicans and Democrats are going, you have got to resign or we will force you to fire. You are totally incompetent.
You got conservatives agreeing with AOC. I mean, what is going on? All right. I'll get this done and get it back to you guys. But right now, 58 as the sun rises in Denver, expecting a high of 90 today with some smoke and haze from Canada and the great Northwest in the air again. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
So I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala.
All right, President Biden evidently is alive and alert. Heard from him for the first time in almost a week. He was on the phone with VP Kamala Harris, excuse me, Monday, along with supporters. However, Laura Loomer, as Jeff was talking about, a lot of people on X saying that he's delegating his authority as president to the Secretary of the Treasury and Secretary of State, and physically declining fast after rumors of suffering a mild stroke last week. But we heard him last night.
You know, the name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing. Help me get this nomination. Help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency.
All right, so he's on board with Harris, evidently. Harris's campaign raked in $81 million in the first 24 hours of her announcing. She's brought in cash and also secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination, and says because she's been a DA, she knows the criminal type, like former President Trump.
In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain.
Yeah.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Wow. Messy NBC's Joy Reid, she can't wait.
Congressman Jim Clyburn, I think you and I both, and probably everyone watching right now, we look forward to nothing more than watching Vice President Kamala Harris debate Donald Trump. Honestly, I wish that she would do it every day between now and the election. I cannot wait. Congressman, thank you so much. I appreciate you being here.
Well, she did so well debating in the primary for the Democrats back in 2020. So I spent some considerable time diving yesterday into Kamala Harris's background as prosecutor and then her 2020 race. And part of the challenge that she faces, Blake, is that she kind of tries to play it all ways as a prosecutor. So in that language, in that clip you just played, she's the tough on crime prosecutor. Okay. Right. I'm going after the bad guys. But then she spent a lot of time, especially in the Democrat primary, talking about criminal justice reform. And I'm helping reform the criminals. And we don't need to put them away all the time. We have recidivism programs that, reduce recidivism and get them better connected into the community. So, like, which is it? And I think if she continues to go down this path of, we're either tough on crime or we're soft on crime, but nobody really knows, it's not going to help her. I don't know. It's like, why she failed in 2020.
Yeah, you're right. And she's a perfect politician like Joe Biden. I mean, whichever way the wind blows, that's who you have.
Yeah.
So we'll see how, conservatives and Republicans can kind of evaluate her and expose her. Trump says mistakes were made at the rally 10 days ago that ended with the attempted assassination on Fox News Channel Monday.
Somebody should have made sure there was nobody on that roof. That roof was a dead aim right onto the stage. And they said they didn't have the manpower for it, which is crazy. 130 yards is like sinking a 1-foot putt. It's considered really close.
Absolutely right.
It sounds like a lot, but it's really, from that standpoint, it's it's very close. And I was surprised by that, actually. They said it's a bad shot would usually hit the target.
You heard J.D. Vance there as well in that interview. Kentucky Republican James Comer and Maryland Democrat Jamie Raskin released a rare joint letter calling on the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to resign for failing to protect Trump from an assassination attempt that ultimately killed one person and injured two others. The House Oversight Committee said Cheadle failed to provide answers to basic questions during a congressional hearing Monday.
Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
Nancy Mace getting after it it was a waste of time, really, for the most part.
Blake, we're going to get into this a little bit later, but the Doritos comment from one of the representatives that's like, go back to defending Doritos, because she served as head of global security for PepsiCo.
I didn't hear that one. I can't wait to hear that.
We'll play that audio a little bit later. But
I didn't hear that one.
Look, and then one of the Democrat representatives goes back to when Reagan faced his assassination attempt, and immediately the Secret Service director, who was a Republican at the time, resigned because you have a zero fail policy as the director of the Secret Service. We cannot mess up one time.
I was curious about this. Evidently, he resigned like 8 months later. Is that correct?
I don't know the exact timeline, but he didn't stick around that long. At least that's what the Democrat lawmaker, Representative Kahana, was pointing out yesterday.
I just saw that early this morning. I've got to check that. But that was interesting. I mean, that crazy day on Monday. Delta Airlines says that it'll take another couple of days to recover from a global computer outage on Friday. The airline has canceled more than 4,000 flights since Friday. The man who was shot by Fort Collins police Sunday has died of his injuries. 42-year-old Clayton Pierce was seen standing next to his car after he crashed it, holding a gun. When officers approached the scene, an exchange of gunfire began, and one officer was wounded. Police Pierce was taken into custody after he ran into the grounds of Grandview Cemetery and was taken to a hospital where he later died. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills, locally owned and operated since 1954. Online at lairfireplacepatio.com.
Line to the right field, it's a base hit. It's the ball game. Ezekiel Tovar with a walk-off single, and in 12 innings, The Rockies get the victory, 9-8.
Jerry Schimmel and the Rocks back at it tonight at Coors against the Red Sox. Last surviving member of the Four Tops has died. Duke Fakur passed away at the age of 88. That's my favorite Four Top song. You'll hear a bunch of others, but that's the one to me. 54 in Lafayette, 56 in Highlands Ranch, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue on Monday. Blake Olson, News Talk, 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, sunny but with a smoky haze. That'll be with us for the next 3 days. Near 90 today. Temperatures tonight, 60s, low to mid-90s Wednesday. Hot, middle to upper 90s Thursday, 90s Friday. Through Thursday, dry. For Friday and the weekend, we do expect thunderstorms to return. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center. Kamala Harris has sealed the deal. She's proud to have earned the support needed to become the Democrat Party's nominee. But this all happened very, very quickly, and there's a lot of questions around the legality of all of this. Even Robert F. Kennedy raising concerns about how the Democrat Party has kind of kept any type of challenge at arm's length and essentially organize their picks around who the party bosses want. Joining us to provide a bit of commentary is Chris Murray, a regular on this show, partner with First and 14th Law, and a new dad now of 3 children. Congratulations, Christopher.
I know your listeners will be shocked. Thanks, guys. I know your listeners, have heard me before, will be shocked that I have reproduced not once but 3 times.
You're a good Catholic man.
Well, I'm. You know what Catholics? You know what we say? We're practicing.
Yes, always practicing.
That's right.
Now, what are the ages of the kids? We know the youngest one's a newborn. What are the other 2? I just want to know how much chaos.
My oldest is 5. My middle child is almost 3, and then now we have one that's about 2 weeks old.
She's in the thick of it. Billy, you remember those days?
Trouble.
I remember those days too.
You were in so much trouble.
You literally. So once the kids get past 5, they can actually. You don't have to watch them constantly.
Oh yes, you do. Oh yes, you
like
do.
They may not die if you're not going to be there, but you are in the thick of it. Buddy.
It is true that my son, who's the oldest, is transitioning from. I'm less worried about him, accidentally killing himself than I am about what he's breaking.
Right.
Oh, yeah. The issue is, here's where Chris is with the older 2. He's in that moment because the older one can persuade the 3-year-old to do things.
Yes.
It is that moment where, as a parent, the one thing you desire more than anything else is peace and quiet in the house, but that is the most dangerous thing. As soon as you hear nothing, something really bad is happening. It is really scary at this point.
That is, Bill, you are not wrong.
I have got, I'm going to take a side trip here. have you done, now this is a 3-year-old, still a touch young for this, but I'm going to talk about food that's going to fit for the 5-year-old, and then as the kid ages just a bit. Have you done hot dog spiders yet? Got to do them.
This sounds like,
yeah,
it sounds terrible. I have no idea what that is.
That is awful. I am disappointed in you as a parent. Hot dog spiders, basically you cook, what you do is you take the hot dogs, and before you cook them, you cut them into little pieces, and then you take spaghetti, break the spaghetti in half and put the spaghetti through the pieces of the hot dog, then boil the hot dogs. When you pull them out, you've got hot dogs with wiggly legs. You've got hot dog spiders. It's just a matter of how to sell the food to the kids. The kids don't want to eat anything other than what comes from McDonald's. So how do you sell it? I can help you on this.
I mean, we're blessed. Our kids are actually great eaters. They'll eat basically anything you put in front of them.
Don't say that out loud. You'll be cursed. I promise you.
Those kids.
So one of them will just decide I eat only things that are orange for like 7 months.
My 2-week-old only eats milk right now.
But No. We're talking. He has no idea what he's getting into.
For a question for both you Catholic boys here, do you take your kids directly into mass, or do they go to the nursery, or is there a cry room? Because as evangelicals, we build like suites in the back where there's like refreshments.
It's a cry room, and the cry room always smells funny. The speaker, because the priest wears a lavalier mic, the speaker doesn't work right, cuts out normally, and if anyone in the cry room is talking at more than a moderate conversational level, you can't hear a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this is, and I love them. My wife is evangelical. And so I love my evangelical brothers and sisters in Christ. But I will say this. I think that's one thing that evangelicals have wrong. I think kids should be welcome at services.
Yeah.
And in the Catholic tradition, right, we believe that's the real presence of Jesus Christ there in the tabernacle. And so, as Christ said, let the little children come to me and do not hinder them. And so, now if they're screaming, you do take them to the smelly cry room.
Bill is right. There you go.
If they're disrupting other people's time, you do that. But otherwise, if you expect kids to behave, they will behave, and they'll learn how to behave around other people. So, and by the way, that means that next Sunday I have just cursed myself. I'm sure I'm in for a living hell. So.
Yeah, you're gonna have a colic baby. Is what's gonna happen. Yeah, I still remember the time in which my 2 middle ones have got to be it's right about the time the Madagascar movie had come out. It's like 12 months after that, and they are probably 7, 10-ish based on age spread. And we have a visiting priest that is from Africa that comes in, and he has the heavy, thick accent, and he sounds a bit like King Julian. So he gets up there to start speak, and the 2 little ones, who in the middle ones, we have nicknamed the Trouble Twins, look at each other and start going, I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. And they're dancing in the pew. And I'm going, I'm finding it way too entertaining to tell them to stop it. I'm trying not to laugh out loud. And I'm just like, what do I do? What do I do with this at this point? So that's what you have to look forward to, sir. Good luck.
So let's dive into.
Good luck for that transition, Jeff.
I love the connection that your kids had there, Billy. And I love the fact, too, that you just fully embrace the craziness of your kids in the pews, because you were that, too.
Oh, absolutely. And in times I encourage it. I mean, that's the problem is my wife will sometimes like, you understand we're in public, right? I'm like, I have no filter.
But you have that memory. I have that, too, of what it was like to be that kid.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was always.
And then not to, jump down their throats just because they're being kids.
I still remember being in Catholic school and getting in trouble because we were supposed to be in church at the time, and it's some sort of assembly or something we're supposed to be doing, and we're supposed to be paying attention. I'm not paying attention. So my friends and I, it's a mostly empty Catholic, church. And so we are sitting in the pews and we're ducking down, and then we're crawling under the ground, and then we're popping up in different pews. And so what you see is, if you're watching it, the people that, the order, it keeps popping up in different, and it took us about, 10 minutes or so. And then we got told that we had to sit in one pew together and not move and everything else. And the teacher came over. But yeah, again, that's what I did. So I have to embrace it with my kids. I can't try to stomp that out of them. I have to understand it's my fault. It is not my wife's fault. It is totally my fault when stuff like that happens.
Well, speaking of stomping them out, I don't know if that's a good transition. Vice President Kamala Harris has all the delegates, all the support she needs to become the party's nominee, all the delegates. Christopher, this all happened so fast. And then there were questions about because of
FEC donation requirements, $96 million, where the Democrats essentially tied to Kamala Harris. You're an election attorney. You've spent years doing this, constitutional law attorney. As this all went through, give us your analysis of, one, how quickly this all happened, and then the legal issues around essentially the coordination of Kamala Harris.
So I I was here obviously listening to the both of you as you started the show off this morning, and I'll admit, of course, it's been very quickly, and Bill made the observation that, geez, his impression is that wrangling Democratic delegates is a lot like herding cats. And I don't know. I feel like right now it's like you can herd cats at mealtime, right? And that's and that's sort of what we've got going on right now, right? The fancy feast is being opened, and so they'll show up for that. And I really think that our Democratic friends are sort of they're if you're a delegate, right, immediately almost all the state chairs come out, right? President Biden, who, by the way, your delegation almost certainly supports, right? Biden has all but what I think like 100 of the 4,000 or so Democratic delegates committed to him. They don't actually have hard pledges in the Democratic Party. That's a difference between their party and the Republican Party, but they're committed to him. Their primary electorates voted for him. So Biden comes out and immediately endorses Harris. All these state chairs, high Democratic elected officials, all say she's the one, right? I think that a lot of these delegates who are, those of us who look at politics say, boy, that would be really neat to be a delegate at an open brokered convention. You'd have some influence, the power. I actually think most of these folks don't want that, right? Which is a bigger conversation, right? It's a lot of folks who get elected to positions like this don't actually want authority, right? What they want is prestige. And they want to keep that prestige, and they want to keep that appearance of being important. So what do? You fall in line. And by the way, I actually don't think there's a big difference between the Republican Party and the Democratic Party on that front when push comes to shove.
Yeah, I think we saw it a little bit on the platform committee meetings that took place at the RNC. Get in line.
I was there for that, and that was, I will say, just as a matter of pure politics, that was impressive, because where the fights at Republican conventions have been, it's almost never about who the nominee is, right? Since Reagan Ford in 76, there, I guess maybe it looked like Trump Cruz almost in 16, but that was nothing compared to Reagan Ford in 76. Where the fights have been is on that platform committee, and the Trump team rolled that platform committee. Rolled it. And it was whatever you think of the platform, whatever you think about whether that's appropriate or not, that was an accomplishment.
And the idea of get in line, right? So Kamala Harris has the delegates lined up and will essentially be the Republican nominee at this point. It seems to be just a formality, right?
Yeah, she'll be the Democratic nominee.
Or Democrat. Did I say Republican?
You did.
My bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's early in the morning.
It's okay. I
thank God we have an attorney here.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. I called Michelle Obama Melania yesterday. So it's okay. We're just Jeff and I are batting 1,000.
I'm not touching that one.
Yeah.
So I'll just, so it seems like it'll be a formality, right? But look, like, here's how this works, right? Under the Democrats' rules, they like the Republican Party require, first thing, in the Democratic Party, you can't draft a candidate. So the real way that this stays absolutely a formality is no other candidate gets in. Right now, there are no other Democrats saying, hey, I'd like to be president. Consider me. If nobody else does it, those delegates are powerless. There will be one person who's seeking the nomination.
Now, is that from your perspective because they're all getting in line? Or, and we talked to Ted Trimp about this yesterday, maybe this isn't the right year if you're a Gavin Newsom or a Jared Polis, because it's likely you may lose. So let's give this year a pass. Kamala Harris is the sacrificial lamb, and in 4 years, good old Jerry Polis will be up there seeking the nomination.
Well, I mean, Ted Trimpa is one of the smartest Democrats in the country, not just Colorado. And Ted, I think, is on to something there. Look, like, take a step back from all the things you hear about how excited the Democrats are. And by the way, if I was a Democrat, I would be excited, right?
It's the first time in 4 years you could do anything.
Well, I mean, seriously, I would be excited because Joe Biden was going to lose this election. Joe Biden was, I think he's probably unfit to serve out the remainder of his term. He's certainly incapable of winning the election in November. So if I'm a Democrat, hey, a chance is better than no chance. And they absolutely have a chance to win. That said, Kamala Harris is, she is this administration, right? I mean, she's tied to this administration. She is going to be saddled with everything this administration has done, including covering up for a non-compos mentis president of the United States for who knows how long, right? I mean, those questions are going to come. They're not going to come right now because, frankly, the news is that she's the nominee. But if I'm a Democrat and I step back and say, geez, do I want to be the guy or the gal who has to step up, right? 7 rounds, into a 9-round fight, right? With the judges all on the other person's side right now. I don't think I do. And also, by the way, Donald Trump can only serve another 4 years. So however popular, unpopular, good, bad he is, you're only going to get 4 years of Donald Trump. And after that, it's wide open. Why wouldn't you wait?
Talking with Chris Murray. He is the partner of First and 14th Law. We'll continue this conversation. You're welcome to give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971. I'm going to ask him here in just a second, is there anything that Republicans can do via lawfare? Come on, Jenna Griswold did it. Let's throw everything we can legally at these guys just to trip them up a little bit. We'll get into that in a second. But speaking of great lawyers, I want to talk to you about Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. Dan suggests that you should choose a lawyer who shares your values because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. I've known Dan for well over a decade. Dan is pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. He supports the values of this radio station. He's the son of a police officer and a former seminarian who's dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. But he's not just that. He's a titan in the courtroom. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. He's trusted so much, he's the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases, but he's not just reserved for the rich and wealthy. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call. He'd be my first call if I was hurt in an injury case, 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. We'll continue with Chris Murray talking all things Kamala Harris and the upcoming Democrat National Convention. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Kamala Harris is hitting the campaign trail with the battleground state of Wisconsin as her first stop. It comes as multiple sources are reporting the vice president has enough backers to become the official nominee at the Democratic National Convention next month. Her campaign said she's raised more than $80 million since Joe Biden stepped aside on Sunday. She's pledged to make building up the middle class a defining goal of her presidency. Not one, but 2 of America's most senior politicians are headed to Asia this week to try and shore up alliances in the region. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin have a number of stopovers and meetings scheduled. It comes as some allies question the future of US foreign policy with a change in the White House. Secretary Blinken is also expected to meet his Chinese counterpart in Laos to try and de-escalate tensions between the 2 countries. Delta has warned that flights could be disrupted until midweek as it tries to fully recover from Friday's global IT problems. Although cancellations are falling, over 4,000 Delta flights have been cancelled since the outage started. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel. At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Kamala Harris is hitting the campaign trail with the battleground state of Wisconsin as her first stop. It comes as multiple sources are reporting the vice president has enough backers to become the official nominee at the Democratic National Convention next month. Her campaign said she's raised more than $80 million since Joe Biden stepped aside on Sunday. She's pledged to make building up the middle class a defining goal of her presidency. Not one, but two of America's most senior politicians are headed to Asia this week to try and shore up alliances in the region. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin have a number of stopovers and meetings scheduled. It comes as some allies question the future of US foreign policy with a change in the White House. Secretary Blinken is also expected to meet his Chinese counterpart in Laos to try and de-escalate tensions between the two countries. Delta has warned that flights could be disrupted until midweek as it tries to fully recover from Friday's global IT problems. Although cancellations are falling, over 4,000 Delta flights have been cancelled since the outage started. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Joining us live in studio, Chris Murray, a partner with First and 14th Law, an incredible law firm here in Colorado. Does a lot of First and 14th Amendment issues, hence the name First and 14th Law. We're talking all things Kamala Harris and the coronation, I guess, that took place. 8 hours. 8 hours it took the entire Democrat delegation of Colorado to go, Kamala Harris is our gal. We're going to get behind her. Let's take some phone calls. Tony Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Tony.
Hey, good morning, guys. I heard that, Chris, I heard your comment that you guys were talking a little bit about the idea that, maybe nobody wants to jump in because it's late in the game and they don't want to lose and they can wait 4 years. If you're, observing what's happening right now, she has no intention of losing to Trump.
Oh, that's
and
clear.
I mean, she's in it. She's in it for real. They raised $86 million yesterday. I heard an interview this morning from, I think, the largest Gen Z group in America of voters, young voters, and they're all in. They're all in. They were waiting for a candidate that wasn't 80 years old. And so they picked up some youth vote. They pick up the black vote. What are your thoughts around a VP pick? Have you heard anything that you've heard on that?
Yeah, look, Tony, it's so first thing, by the way, what you've just said is absolutely correct. Look, I think I can explain why that it may be the reason other people haven't gotten in is because the prize you get here is a messy process, and then sort of a late stage race where I think it's going to be harder to win. Kamala Harris is in this to win it. There's no question about that. This is her shot, and she is going to fight like hell to win. And again, so as I said, if I was a Democrat, I would say I'd be excited because I've got a different candidate than Joe Biden, right? She's, by the way, I think we can all agree, a better candidate than Joe Biden. That's, I guess, a little bit damning with faint praise. Well, she can form a sentence and like sometimes has a coherent thought. So that, unfortunately, that's the bar we had.
Yeah, and the other thing is that, and I think people are discounting this, that she changes the narrative the Republicans have been selling for the last 18 months, which is the other dude is too old. Now the Republicans run the old candidate. And again, and we talked about it yesterday, I'm not sure the Democrats are intelligent enough, but if they are, they should start pointing out that Donald Trump will be Biden's exact age at the end of his next term. But to sit here and say, you think this guy is going to do that much better? This is, you're basically trying. What they should be doing, in my mind, strategy wise, is basically is taking that narrative and changing it 180 degrees and say, if this guy was too old, then how come you're going to go after the guy that's going to be too old?
Yeah, but I agree with that. By the way, Bill, I don't know how well it'll work because they're the party that was covering up the fact that the guy was too old, but. Tony asked a good question about vice president for Kamala Harris. And so I'm not a Democrat. I will say that the names, the two names that I think probably make the most sense, I don't know if it's the way she will go. Senator Kelly from Arizona. You've got a swing state. The guy's an astronaut. He is preternaturally popular down there. Arizona is a state that has been falling away from the Democrats in the polling, especially at the presidential level. They've also got another Senate race down there that the damage at the presidential level has been actually Carrie Lake is now leading in some polls for the Arizona Senate seat in Arizona. So I think Kelly does a couple things. Plus, you've got a Democratic governor down there who can appoint his replacement. I also think Josh Shapiro from Pennsylvania, the governor of Pennsylvania, would be a really solid pick. I've heard some crazy things about reticence to having a Jew on the Democratic ticket.
That was on our show yesterday.
Which is absolutely nuts, right?
It's something David Duke would say.
Yeah, really. It's dark, but I think Josh Shapiro. I don't presume that Kamala Harris shares any of that sort of craziness. And I think Josh Shapiro would be a really strong pick. Again, swing state. He is popular in Pennsylvania.
Right, and Kamala Harris is married to a Jewish man.
Well, 100%. That's exactly why I don't think that she shares that thought, right? So I would say those two are strong. There's other strong possibilities for her. I think that she should take her time. This has all happened so quickly, right? This news cycle, everything that has happened over the last 10 days is moving so fast. She should try to string out, and by string out, I mean over a couple weeks, the launch of her campaign, the idea of her as a new candidate, because it separates her from the current administration a little bit in the minds of voters and in the media, and sort of lets her start her own narrative. I think that's what she'll do.
Yeah. Jeff, I made a prediction, a week ago, 10 days ago, that I said, Biden would step out and he would anoint Kamala. And yesterday morning, I told you that she'd have it wrapped up long before the convention. I'll give you two predictions now.
Tony the Nostradamus. Go ahead, please.
But I'm listening to both sides. You're not probably watching Rachel Maddow, but I'm listening to you guys, and that would be the difference between us, is where we're getting our news, and I'm trying to get it from both sides. I'll say this: the convention the Republican convention was great. I mean, it was a home run for Trump. The Democratic convention is going to be an absolute home run for Democrats, and they'll go in unified, and the messaging that's going to come out and the attacks are going to be blistering. And second, Trump will do everything he possibly can to not debate her. And he's already mumbling it. And I don't believe he's going to debate her. And it's going to be tough to get out of, but I think he's going to find a way. And it may be, his excuse may be, this was undemocratic. They shouldn't have done this to the Democrats. I'm not going to debate her. He'll come up with any excuse to not get on that stage. We'll see if it happens.
Tony, appreciate the call. Do you think Trump will debate Kamala?
So I'm going to go ahead and say, Tony from Littleton, you should. It's not Nostradamus. You should call him Tone-stradamus. Okay. And I will say that I think he's onto something. Trump already a couple days ago said, hey, if we're going to do the debate, we need to move it, I think, from ABC, where it was supposed to be, the second debate, to Fox News. I think if Kamala Harris is smart, she's going to accept that. And she'll say, because she needs to be on the same stage as him, right?
I don't think she can handle him.
So
she couldn't handle fellow Democrats during the primary debates.
So
Tulsi Gabbard put her in her place. It was crazy.
I do think there's a big difference between what Republican versus Democrat general election presidential debates have become and what the primary debates are about. In primary debates, there are actually a lot of people listening, right? Trying to decide between the candidates. There are obviously some people in the country who are really going to try and decide between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. However, what most of those debates are about is firing up the people who are already going to vote for you and making sure that they remember to vote. And so I actually think that she will do a better job with Donald Trump, just because the bar for what she has to do is be seen fighting him. If she's seen fighting him, that makes her base more energy.
I also think the format helps, because when you're one-on-one, that's different than a group. When you're in a group primary debate, you're fighting for attention. And it's the idea of being one of five, one of six, where if it's just one-on-one, you have the ability to immediately counterattack what the other person said. You're not granted that inside of a regular debate. And the other problem is that I would caution you is Donald Trump's not a great debater. So be careful about that. When you say you think Donald Trump's going to crush her, I disagree. Donald Trump is not a good debater.
You remember the video of him right after the debate, and he's in the golf cart with Barron, and he goes, I took out Biden. I think he loves this stuff, and I think he wants a shot at Kamala on a national stage to embarrass her.
If he loves it, why didn't he get into the ring during the primaries?
Yeah, so
if you love it, you get on stage there too, because you determine that you're the top gorilla. You stomp everybody else. He doesn't love this.
Yeah.
He knows it's a weakness.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think you're both right. I mean, I think he loves it, but I think, look, we just talked last segment, we talked about the Republican National Convention partially, right, and how tightly that was run. Okay. Trump's campaign team this cycle is a whole different animal. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a professional operation, and he's listening to them. So Trump may very well say, I'd kind of like to do it, right? But I could see them saying, not a good idea. You're winning. Don't screw it up.
All right, we'll continue this conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Chris, so quickly, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, is saying there might be some legal issues around all this Kamala Harris stuff.
Speaker Johnson is a really smart guy, and I know that he said that off the cuff on Sunday. Look, there may be a legal issue with the Biden-Harris campaign changing its name to the Harris campaign and helping itself to the bank account. But I got to tell you, the process with that takes too long. It's not going to be done until after the election, and so she will get the benefit of that money. There may be some campaign finance fines after the fact. I'm not so sure there will be, for the record. And then, I've heard some Republicans, including Speaker Johnson, speculating about ballot access problems. Like, well, she may not be able to get on the ballot in all these states. That's just not true. They haven't had their convention yet. Every state's ballot access law is timed based on the convention.
There you go. Chris Murray, partner with First and 14th Law. Thanks so much for joining us in studio, helping us navigate all this.
Hey, always my pleasure, guys. What a time to be alive.
We'll continue the conversation. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
7 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned into the Pep and Bill Show on 710 KNUF. I'm your co-host, Jeff Lunt, along with the Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and most of the time pretty crazy. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. In this hour, we're going to cover Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, recent endorsements, George Clooney just breaking. He's a big fan of Kamala Harris. So we'll talk about that in the 8 o'clock hour. The Secret Service hearings yesterday that were a disaster for the director of the Secret Service from both the right and the left. It's very clear everybody is asking her to step down. And then the 9 o'clock hour, Ted Harvey's going to join us, former Colorado State Senator. There's an interesting email that went out yesterday, Billy.
Really?
Listen to this.
Yeah, what?
It's directed at Steve Peck, and it's from other Republicans in the Douglas County area that are standing in solidarity with Dave Williams. That includes State Representative Brandy Bradley, State Senator Kevin Van Winkle, Douglas County Treasurer Dave Gill, former State Representative Kim Ransom, and a series of other notable local conservatives in Colorado or in Douglas County.
No, so they're supporting Dave.
So you remember what Steve said? If he's out of line, he will resign.
Interesting.
Man, this is. You remember this is like a soap opera. This is those telenovelas.
Yeah, it is. This is interesting. And again, it doesn't help you guys going into the fall. This is not helping in any way, shape, or form.
No, at this point, I feel like I remember being a kid watching those soap operas as you're growing up, and like the door opens and it's all the dramatic music.
Oh, yeah.
I thought you were dead.
Yeah.
No, I'm alive. And then the slap comes.
Yep, exactly. On a side note, did you ever get into soap operas? Ever watch them at all? No,
never at all.
So
but I did like watching The Price is Right when I was a kid.
Oh, Price is Right's fantastic. That's a whole thing. Although you've heard from Drew Carey recently. He said that since the younger college kids like Price is Right,
get drunk and stoned,
everybody shows up drunk and stoned. Yeah, he's like, because at least 50% of the contestants during, if not more, are drunk or stoned when they're on stage. So I think that's fantastic. And we don't have time for it right now, but one morning I will regale you with the story of how during college I became a soap opera fan.
Really?
Yes, and it all had to do with the soccer team. But that's a story for a different day. Yeah.
So Democrats are out running the state of Colorado into ditch, and Republicans are going back and forth in this soap opera. Gosh, guys. All right. So we're going to cover that in the 9 o'clock hour. You're not going to want to miss that conversation, because yesterday my phone blew up over the Steve Peck interview that we did.
That was a good interview.
The drama will continue. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, that was a great interview, and a nice shot he had in his car. That looked good. It was good if you were watching online. 60 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 90 today with the smoke and haze from Canada and the great Northwest in the air again today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. By the way, we're hoping that clears out by tomorrow. Hopefully, it looks like on the forecast. Our top story.
I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing. Help me get this nomination. Help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency.
President Biden evidently is alive and alert. Heard from him for the first time in almost a week. He was on the phone with VP Kamala Harris Monday, along with supporters. Plenty on X saying that Biden's health is declining quickly and he may have suffered a mild stroke last week. Keep an eye on that, but he was on the horn with Harris.
The name has changed at the top of the ticket, but the mission hasn't changed at all. And by the way, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to be out there in the campaign with her, with Kamala. I'm going to be working like hell.
Harris's campaign raised $81 million in the first 24 hours. She's also secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination, and says because she's been a DA, she knows the criminal type. like former President Trump.
In those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
Attorney Chris Murray on with the fellas last hour, and I agree with this statement.
If I was a Democrat, I would say I'd be excited because I've got a different candidate than Joe Biden, right? She's, by the way, I think we can all agree, a better candidate than Joe Biden. I mean, that's, she can form a sentence and like sometimes has a coherent thought. I mean, so that, unfortunately, that's the bar we had.
And the great Larry Elder broke down Harris a couple of years ago, and I never forgot what he said here.
But given Kamala Harris's numbers, given her track record, given this laugh, given the way she's run away from her record as being tough on crime, she had the most left-wing voting record, more left-wing than Bernie Sanders, and then positioned herself as a centrist. Sometimes she says she's a black woman when she ran. Sometimes she says she's an Asian Indian woman when she ran out here in California. So she's perceived to be utterly inauthentic and utterly unlikable.
Trump says big mistakes were made at the rally 10 days ago in Pennsylvania when he almost was assassinated on Fox News Channel Monday, talking about his meeting with Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle.
I thought she was very nice, but, you have to answer why couldn't I have stayed off the stage for 5 minutes while they do their work? Why couldn't, how does a situation happen where a roof that's plainly in sight from the location where I was speaking, why would somebody not have seen that?
Democrats and Republicans released a rare joint letter calling on Cheadle to resign. The House Oversight Committee said Cheadle failed to provide answers to basic questions during a congressional hearing Monday.
How many spent shell casings were found on the roof?
Again, I would have to defer you to the FBI's criminal investigation.
Was Mr. Crooks acting alone?
Again, I would have to refer you to the FBI's investigation.
Does the Secret Service routinely record communications between and amongst detail?
Depending on the detail, radio communications are recorded.
Does the Secret Service have recorded communications from the July 13th event?
We do not have radio communications from that day.
Do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
That's shocking. That is absolutely unacceptable.
Total train wreck on Monday. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston delivered his first State of the City address on Monday. He highlighted his plans to keep Denver safe, vibrant, and affordable. Johnson discussed a proposed sales tax increase that would bring in an estimated $100 million a year for affordable housing. He also mentioned the Denver Asylum Seekers Program, which helps illegal immigrants moving into the city. I'm sure that's what most citizens wanted to hear.
Line to the right field, it's a base hit. It's the ball game. Ezekiel Tovar with a walk-off single. And in 12 innings, the Rockies get the victory, 9-8.
All right, over the Red Sox last night, back at it at Coors tonight, thanks to Jerry Schimmel on that. Last surviving member of the Four Tops has died. Duke Fakur passed away at the age of 88. 57 in Aurora, 55 in Golden, 60 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It's Monday. Oh, no, it's Tuesday. What am I saying? Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 710 5-day forecast, sunny but with a smoky haze. That'll be with us for the next 3 days. Near 90 today. Temperatures tonight, 60s, low to mid-90s Wednesday. Hot, middle to upper 90s Thursday, 90s Friday. Through Thursday, dry. For Friday and the weekend, we do expect thunderstorms to return. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, the Democrat Party out there celebrating Kamala Harris as she has been essentially coronated to become the Democrat nominee. They organized very quickly, I mean, wildly quickly around her. They're not really going to have much of an open convention. She's already secured all the votes she needs to become the nominee. The money's in the bank. Let's go. They're excited about her. And so yesterday, Chris Coons goes on Brett Baier with Fox. Chris Coons is a senator from Delaware. So this is one of Kamala Harris's colleagues. And this is where I think you're going to face the toughest questions for Kamala Harris. Is essentially, what has she done?
What do you think has been Vice President Harris's biggest accomplishment as vice president?
Well, look, I think she's done remarkable work across several important areas. Something that I think hasn't gotten much coverage is her passion for entrepreneurship, for wealth creation, for securing and stabilizing the middle class. She's traveled around the country to meet with small businesses and to talk with them about what it takes to get back to work, to grow a small business, to sustain the wealth and opportunity for a family.
She traveled around the country to meet with small businesses and talk with them about what it takes to get back to work, to grow a small business, to sustain wealth and opportunity for a family. That caught Brett Baier off guard. The idea that Kamala Harris was this great champion for the middle class and for small business development. Let me walk you through kind of her background. And this is why it caught Brett Baier off guard, is that she spent 2 terms as the district attorney from San Francisco. So she was the chief prosecutor of crimes in San Francisco. She then went on to become the attorney general of California, then the U.S. senator from California, taking over Barbara Boxer's seat. Now she's the vice president of the United States. This was Chris Coons, her fellow colleague, looking back on her great achievements, out there to promote the Democrat presidential candidate, top of the ticket, asked what her biggest accomplishment was, and the answer was small business development. That was wild to me. So here's what I would love to hear from our listeners, particularly our Democrat listeners. What is Kamala Harris's greatest achievement? She wants to be the leader of the free world. And from my perspective, everywhere she has come from, San Francisco, California, she has left every single community worse off than when she began her job. I don't look at San Francisco today and go, that's a great example of her leadership. I don't look at the state of California and go, I wish the United States of America was more like California. So I look at those and I go, now she wants the job. She has fallen upwards every single step of the way, and now she wants to lead the free world. What is the great achievement that we, the voters of the United States of America, should look at Kamala Harris and say, she deserves to lead the United States of America? I'd love to hear from you. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Let's go to Frank in Evergreen. Good morning, Frank. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, I think her biggest accomplishment is going to be being the second best liar in chief we've ever had, because Biden's the best, actually, but it wasn't willful on his part because his brain stopped working.
Yeah, unfortunately, Frank, statistically, that's Trump based on numbers. But continue.
Yeah, I know. You always got to go to Trump. I get it.
No, dude, I'm just holding you honest, man. You said biggest liar, and the guy that told the most lies is Trump, and that's statistically proven. It's not a matter of opinion. It's not my opinion. It's what was proven based on his time in office. But that's okay. Continue.
Facts on that, Billy. We don't have any facts on that.
Yeah, we do. We have the list. We have a list of over 30,000 provable lies that he told while he was in office. But yeah, okay. Discuss facts. Keep going. Keep going.
So you just repeat whatever CNN tells you to. Okay, got it.
No,
so
not at all. I did my own research. But that's okay.
What I really
Continue.
called about was whether they should debate or not.
Yeah,
and
just
I
like
really
we are.
think I really think that they should debate. I'd like to see it be entertaining. And I think if Trump doesn't debate her, if he chooses not to debate her, she can choose not to debate all she wants because Democrats can do anything they want to do. But if he chooses not to debate her, I think that would be a negative on him and his bad ASS mantra, I guess. So I think he should debate her, and it'll be entertaining. I think what the heck,
So, Frank, let's talk about Kamala Harris's strengths. She was a prosecutor. She spends a lot of time in the courtroom, and so she has the ability to think critically and to think quickly on her feet to be able to address that. So, go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, no. Speaking strength in what regard? Strength to suck in independence. I mean,
but Frank, I think
want to hear that.
I think it's a problem if Republicans dismiss Kamala Harris or have a low bar in a debate with her. This idea that look, we all have the comments, right? The cackles, the unburdened by what has been passed.
That doesn't matter to Democrats.
But if you walk into that debate and you underestimate Kamala Harris, it'll be to Donald Trump's detriment. I think you need to take her very seriously. She was the Attorney General of California. She was the prosecutor, the district attorney in San Francisco. She has spent a lot of time arguing. And so you need to take her seriously. But I think Donald Trump can still confront her in a debate in a way that she's not used to. Donald Trump fights differently than the establishment expects, and that's why he was able to defeat all the Republicans in 2016.
Jeff, the only underestimation that the Republicans have made, and they've been doing this consistently for my lifetime, basically, is they've underestimated how really, really good Democrats can lie, cheat, and steal. They've underestimated that. Underestimating Kamala is obviously a mistake. I don't think Trump is that stupid. He's not going to underestimate her. And I'm not even going to predict who's going to win. I think it's still a toss-up at this point. The real fight is for getting the voters. Anybody who claims to be independent hasn't decided who they're voting for yet is one of two things: either they're a liar, or they're just totally stupid. The information's out there, and you need, as an individual, to decide what is important to you and pick a candidate. And you also have to sift through all this misinformation. And one thing about the debate is if it's on Fox, which would be better for Trump probably, because the questions won't be predicated on BS. When they ask the question about why are you a felon, it'll be predicated at least a little bit on the crooked judge and the crooked court system and all that stuff. On CNN or MSNBC, it's always predicated on something that advantages the Democrats.
Frank, I appreciate the call. Frank from Evergreen. His line will be open 303-696-1971.
There's something Frank was saying there that I thought was kind of interesting about the enthusiasm. He was kind of dancing around the edges there. And we talked about it off air with Chris Murray, is the one change I have seen since Kamala got in the race is all of a sudden now I see Democrat enthusiasm. And I think that is something that the Republican Party should be worried about. And what I mean is like the winds. You talk about winds blowing and which direction winds are blowing. The Democrats were not excited about coloring in the bubble or flipping the lever for Joe Biden. They were going to do it like you were going to eat your vegetables. This is what we need to do. And there were a lot of people that weren't excited for the candidate. And I think that enthusiasm and turnout is going to be significant in this next race. And I think that the Republicans had the corner on enthusiasm. They were much more excited about supporting Trump. Now I see more enthusiasm, not matching where the Republicans are, but I see more enthusiasm on the Democrat side, and that can be dangerous.
So my question on that enthusiasm, and feel free to give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Is it anti-Trump enthusiasm, or is it pro-Kamala Harris enthusiasm? And when you talk about pro-Kamala Harris enthusiasm, you can go in a few different ways, right? So I was listening to Jared Polis's interview yesterday, and he goes, first woman president. So we're back to like 16 Hillary. We're going to break the glass ceiling. So you have that level of enthusiasm.
And you wrap in Obama being African-American and minority. Yep, I wrap in that as well. Yep.
Which is kind of interesting because I feel like Joe Biden could make that happen today.
In what way?
By just resigning. So
yeah, but we talked about that yesterday because the House technically might get to pick the vice president then. And so you cannot let the House pick the vice president because you're getting Vice President Mike Johnson. That's what you're going to get. And so that's why you can't do it at this point based on some of the mechanisms.
But he is so infirm. If he can't, there's a very serious question. If the guy can't run for president, can he be the president right now?
Well,
we're saying that there's this fine line, this delineation between, I'm too old to run for president again, but I'm okay to manage the most powerful country in the world right now.
Here's the thing, though, is it's all, and I know that you dislike this, and yes, our listeners dislike this as well. My focusing on particular words, your verb in that statement is can't. That's not Joe Biden's statement, isn't that he can't run, that he doesn't think he can win. He doesn't think he can win. He still feels he can run. If he had the polls, I'll tell you this. If he had polls showing that he is 8 points up on Trump, he's still in the race. It's not a matter of he can't do the job. He can't win. That's why Joe hung on to this for so long.
But that's not what the debate showed. The debate was not about the fact that he can't win. The debate was he is not functional as a president.
I'm not certain that's what the debate showed. The debate showed that he is slipping mentally. It doesn't show that he can't do the job. Like if someone comes up to him and says, sir, we have this information, this information, this information. He doesn't go, I like eggs. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that.
He couldn't put a sentence together.
Yes, he did. He put sentences together, but then they wandered off into the nether regions. And so they were awful. And he brought up things that were non sequiturs. And he connected things that were ridiculous.
Medicare. We took care of Medicare, whatever that line was.
But remember, that's at the end of a long sentence. And what he's trying to do is he's trying to connect it to something else. Yes, that is ridiculous, but it doesn't show that he couldn't do the job at that point.
There are times my sentences don't make any sense on this show either.
Mine daily.
I want to go back to Kamala Harris, though. Just a few months ago, this was a direct quote from her. Yeah. Joe Biden is in good shape, in good health, and ready to lead in our second term.
Yep.
How is Kamala Harris going to answer that she was one of the chief people out there going, no, he's great. Guys did 10 backflips, wrote 100 pieces of legislation, and solved world hunger. She was out there championing his fitness for months. She directly lied to the American people.
Again, here's the idea: is you're coming to the conclusion that he can't do the job, and this is, again, it's a semantic game, but it's the game that Joe Biden played very smartly when he stepped away. It's that I can't win. He's not coming in saying, sorry, guys, I can't be president anymore. He's coming in saying, what I see is that I can't win in this next election cycle. And due to, again, and he's going to talk about health and stuff like that, I need to step aside and I'm going to give my party the best chance to win. That's why it's clever, is he's not saying I can't do the job. And that's the problem that I hear on the Republican side of the media ecosphere, is their assumption is, well, he obviously can't do it. No, he said he can't run. And the idea would be, let's say that you had, just for fun, that you had a George Bush in there. And George Bush had said, you know what, I've decided I'm not running. And he steps aside and only wants to serve one term. The assumption from the Democrats can't be, he can't possibly do the job. He's saying he can't possibly run again. Now he can't do the job. That's the leap of logic that the Republicans are making at this point. I agree that he's slipping and he's not necessarily good at the job. But the idea that he can't do it for the next 4 months,
I think that's a distinction without a difference.
I think it is. I think it's a distinction.
Well, would love to get your thoughts on this. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. When it comes to Joe Biden, I do not think he is fit to be able to serve the next 4 years. That was fully on display as what Ted Trimpa said yesterday. The emperor has no clothes. It wasn't just about losing. It was about his fitness and his cognitive ability to be president at all. Kamala Harris covered that up, lied to the American people. She's going to have to overcome that. And there are very serious questions as to whether or not Joe Biden should even be president now.
So you would
give me a call.
Kamala to run as an incumbent.
696-1971.
That's what you want. You want her to run as an incumbent.
Want a president that can defend this country when the 3 a.m. phone call comes. And I do have no confidence that Joe Biden can do that right now.
But you want Kamala to run as an incumbent because that's what you're advocating for. Is that what you want? Is that the smartest thing for the Republicans?
Byproduct.
Is it the smartest thing?
I think it's a byproduct, but it's more important to me to have somebody that's a chief executive that can answer that 3 a.m. phone call than it is to have the current situation we have now where I don't even know if Joe Biden's alive.
Oh, I want to know. Yeah, and I'd help the caller give me a call and tell me why Joe Biden can't answer that phone call at 3 a.m. Why does his phone not work? I'm curious. What happened? What is it? Why is his phone not working at 3 a.m.?
All right. Want to talk to you all about Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. I've known Gay since I took over for George Brockler, and this is a delightful person. She comes into the studio multiple times to take your questions and calls about the current housing market, which is just crazy right now. So it's great to have somebody that can walk you through all those details. There's three great reasons why Gay Ribble needs to be your realtor when it comes to selling your house. First of all, she's a delightful person, which is important when you're going through that home sale process because you got to deal with all the stress, right? The home inspection, the negotiations, the sellers want this and all that. It's great to work with somebody that has such a positive disposition as Gay Ribble. Number two, she gives back to this community. She's an orphan herself. I didn't know that. We were having this conversation about her faith and her values. She commits to the values of this radio station, but also trying to improve the community. She gives back to orphans in the state of Colorado because she wants them to find the forever family that she did as well. And then third, she is a titan when it comes to selling homes. Listen to this. She gets her clients an average of $30,000 more when it comes to selling their home. Why? Because she has a database of pre-approved purchasers that are ready to buy a house. Over 14,700 pre-approved buyers ready to make that deal so she can sell the home an average of 1.5 times faster. Here's an unbeatable offer. Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team will sell your house for 100% of the asking price, or Gay will pay you the difference. It's an offer you simply cannot refuse. Get 100% of your asking price guaranteed with Gay Ribble and the Empower Home team. Give them a call today at 833-301-SOLD. That's 833-301-SOLD, or go to gayasthebuyers.com. That's GAYE hasthebuyers.com. We'll continue with the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Voters are still taking in the announcement that President Joe Biden is no longer in the running for re-election and has since endorsed his Vice President, Kamala Harris. Haley Bianco hit the streets of New York City to hear what people think about the big move.
We heard mixed responses from Americans on the streets of New York City. Some live and work here, while others are visiting the Big Apple. This couple from San Diego said they're diehard Democrats and that they support Biden's decision to drop out.
We're very pro-Biden, but he was having a lot of difficulty, and it was making us uncomfortable. So overall, I think the outcome was good.
While they think Biden's choice of Harris for the spot is a good one, others aren't so sure.
Well, I really don't. 4 years, I really didn't saw her doing too much anything.
Democrats have their hands full as the November election is looming, and they still don't have an official candidate picked.
You're hoping they pick someone other than Kamala Harris?
Yes.
Biden's age and mental fitness have been in the spotlight since his late June debate against former President Donald Trump.
Do you think they should have known about Joe Biden's...
They knew.
They knew, you think?
They knew. They've been hiding it. His decline was there since day one.
Reporting in New York, I'm Haley Bianco, Salem News Channel.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking all things Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Do you think Kamala has achieved a lot? Here's Chris Coons, one of her colleagues from the U.S. Senate.
What do you think has been Vice President Harris's biggest accomplishment as vice president?
Well, look, I think she's done remarkable work across several important areas. Something that I think hasn't gotten much coverage is her passion for entrepreneurship, for wealth creation, for securing and stabilizing the middle class. She's traveled around the country to meet with small businesses and to talk with them about what it takes to get back to work, to grow a small business, to sustain the wealth and opportunity for a family.
The great advice from Kamala Harris on what it takes to grow a small business and to sustain wealth, because she has great experience in there. Let me walk you through real quick. She was district attorney of San Francisco, attorney general of California, U.S. senator from California, and vice president of the United States. I don't get it. Even Brett Baer, really? Small business development? By the way, Biden and Harris have only a 30% approval rating by small business owners. 30%. It's a record low. They have a 60% disapproval rating, according to Real Clear Politics average, on how they're handling the economy by all voters. So if that's her great accomplishment, she ain't doing so well. Only 30% of small business owners approve. Let's go to the phone lines. Mike Littleton, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Excuse me. I thought I'd weigh in about the need for Joe Biden to resign. I don't think he's cognitively fit to be commander-in-chief. In fact, my wonderful congressman, Jason Crow, even questioned that earlier this week, which is amazing. But when I look at the preponderance of evidence, starting with his debate performance, which was stunning. I mean, there's something obviously wrong with him, but you can go all the way back. He's been kind of hidden from the public in a lot of ways. He basically works a 30-hour schedule, 10 to 4, pretty much. Been on vacation 40% of his presidency, won't take a cognitive test, falls all the time, slurs his speech, has, introduces people incorrectly. If you look at the preponderance of evidence, this guy is not fit. And if he won't take a cognitive test, then that kind of seals the deal for me.
Mike,
he's going to be president, by the way, for 6 more months.
Yeah,
till January.
And Mike, I'm going to raise Billy's question. It was a good question. You okay to have a Kamala presidency then?
it's the right thing to do. If somebody is incapacitated, we have the 25th Amendment.
Yeah.
He needs to go. No matter who's next in line, he has to go. We need somebody that's competent. Whether you want to call her competent or not,
I feel the same way. Look, I just played a clip that I don't think Kamala Harris is fit to be the president of the United States. But my goodness, she could take a phone call at 3 a.m. and I think she would generally probably make a good decision-ish in the realm of it. But I don't think that Joe Biden is fit to be commander-in-chief right now. Billy, you think he is?
Well, the thing is, at least for the next 6 months, I would trust the advisors that he put in place around him. That if the call comes at 3 a.m., I would assume that no president, regardless of their last name being Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, or potentially even Harris, would make that 3 a.m. phone call decision alone. I don't think that is something that happens in the functioning of our government. So I assume there are going to be people involved in the discussion. And if we have to tread water for the next 3 months so that Harris doesn't run as the incumbent, I think that is the smartest thing for the Republicans to just do this. The idea of keep pushing on President Biden as being infirm and incompetent is going to boomerang on y'all. It's not going to go well, because just like when Mike outlined the idea of slurring, Trump slurs, Trump messes up who he's talking to. He messes up states that he's in, places that he's in. He screws up dates. Stop highlighting that. Stop highlighting the fact that how old Biden is, because President Trump, if he's in office again, will be the exact same age at this point in his presidency at the tail end. So don't sit there and start highlighting this person at this age is too old to do this job, because President Trump has some of those same characteristics. You need to be very careful about the narrative you're trying to sell on Joe Biden, because it can easily boomerang back on your candidate.
Mike, final word?
I'm not trying to sell a narrative. I'm trying to go with preponderance of evidence. And Trump did not look anything like Joe Biden during that debate. Trump does not fall all the time. Trump does not do half the things that he gives interviews. Biden doesn't do that. Trump did not work a 10 to 4 schedule.
But hang on a sec. Trump's schedule was rather light. Trump also took more than 1 full year of his presidency as vacations. So the things that you're throwing at Biden, but if we talk about now, that's what I'm talking about, Mike. Right now, Trump will be this same age. So the idea, if at this age, Joe Biden is incapacitated, what makes us think that Donald Trump won't be? Given that
everybody
is
different. Trump has taken a cognitive test. Biden will not. If he is so alert,
Mike,
and there's any doubt, take it.
He didn't take a cognitive test. He took something that looked at some things as far as dementia. Basically, that is the lowest bar he could possibly take. It wasn't a long-term big test. And if Biden did it and he passed, most people would say that it was fixed or he lied about it. So that won't solve anything. Joe Biden could come out today and have a doctor standing next to him and say, I passed the same test Trump did, and 50% of this country wouldn't believe him.
Mike, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Mike's line will be open 303-696-1971. I want to talk to you all about advanced hair restoration. You know that the Jeff and Bill Show was the top-rated talk radio show by Westward. Well, our friends over at Advanced Hair Restoration, the top hair restoration company by Westward as well. Summer is a time to feel and look your best, but I'm not talking about your abs or tan. Guys, I'm talking about your hair. Restore that bald spot, reverse your receding hairline, or add volume to thinning during Advanced Hair's once yearly summer savings event. Advanced Hair's simple one-day treatment begins to regrow your own natural hair the very next day, and they guarantee your new hair will grow. There's absolutely no one I trust more than Dr. Tanya Pauls and her team at Advanced Hair. They take advantage of your flexible summer calendar and get the most hair for your dollar. Advanced Hair's summer sales event is on for a limited time, so you can get details and schedule your free consultation today. 720-459-HAIR. One-day treatment, life-changing results with Advanced Hair. Your new hair is guaranteed to grow. Check out the incredible before and afters and take advantage of their best offer ever. That's 720-459-HAIR or advancedhair.com. Let's go to Ralph, Colorado Springs. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning. I think we should be very, very careful about what we wish for. Your last caller mentioned the 25th Amendment. Well, what happens if Joe Biden does a Ronald Reagan? Remember when Reagan entered the hospital? He temporarily resigned from the active presidency under Article 2 of the 25th Amendment, which says he gave something that said, okay, I cannot complete or fully do my job, and went to the hospital. When he came out, he sent another letter that essentially, in accordance with the 25th Amendment, said, I'm fine, I'm back as president.
And you know, Kamala Harris has assumed the role of presidency when Joe Biden had a colonoscopy. So it has happened.
Yeah. So what happens then is basically, and I'm look, devil's advocate, guys. Biden has COVID. We don't know whether there's going to be long COVID or not, but it could be COVID for, say, 6 months. He can take a rest in his basement for 6 months. Kamala can be president for that full 6-month period. If anything happens to Kamala, Joe instantly says, I'm okay, and takes the presidency back. Therefore, there are 2 heartbeats between Joe Biden and the Speaker of the House. You follow me?
Ralph, that's interesting because I hadn't actually considered the idea of keeping Joe Biden sick. And I'm using that in air quotes, that, you know, whether or not is legitimate or not legitimate, that is an interesting way to prevent the inaction of the second part of the 25th Amendment that would allow the House, I believe, to choose a new vice president, but would keep Joe Biden, you know, basically, you know, in name and power, but Kamala then gets to make all the decisions and becomes the incumbent. That's an interesting play.
See, that's precisely what you put out, Billy, is right there. It's how not to have a vice president with the Republicans, how shall I say, fooling around.
Yeah, that's
you simply
interesting.
Put Joe on the shelf for 6 months. Now what you have is Kamala as president. That means she has, first of all, 4 months to show whether she's good or not.
Oh yeah, and in that short term, it's very hard to screw something up. Now you and I and Jeff can agree that she could exceed all of her expectations and screw it up in the first week. Absolutely, because the border. So we can
She's
talk about
unburdened by what's been in the past.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly.
That's
she
interesting,
is a
Ralph.
tabula rasa, and that is the problem that the Republicans are totally missing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The only question the Dems need to run on is this: I am not Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You tie everything to Trump. You tie January 6th insurrection. You tie crime. I am not a criminal. Donald Trump is. You tie I am not old and doddering and slurring my sentences. Donald Trump does occasionally.
Yeah, and that can work in
you're in
elections.
trouble.
Believe me, I've lost elections, not myself personally, but the guys I worked for have lost in that by basically saying, I'm not that guy. It happened with Rick Santorum and Bob Casey in 2006. But it's not every election. And I'm not sure that after the 4 years we've gone through under this Biden-Harris administration, remember, her name's attached to it, that she can just simply get away with, I'm not Donald Trump. If we had had a great 4 years, maybe, but it hasn't been that great for folks. Ralph, I appreciate the call. We're just out of time. You Choose the News is coming up. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Let's do You Choose the News.
Alrighty, yes, it is time for everybody's favorite fake radio news game show. You Choose the News. We have scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning for really dumb stories about us humans, giving them even more ridiculous headlines to play this fake radio news game show. Why? Because nobody in charge has any idea we do something this ridiculous or stupid. And yeah, I'm mostly responsible. Thank you. Alrighty, here we go. Blake Olson, Jeff Hunt. Choosing our stories today, here are your headlines, sir. Headline number 1, a case of mistaken identity. Headline number 2, how you doing? Headline number 3, loud, aggressive safety protest. And headline number 4, only 1 5-star review. Your choice, sir.
Let's do loud safety.
Loud, aggressive safety protest. We go to New York for this one. A fleet of drones is patrolling New York City's beaches for signs of sharks and struggling swimmers. But they are drawing backlash and aggressive loud protests from the birds. The shore birds are actually attacking the drones that they're flying around, trying to save the people and looking for the sharks. Because of the noise they make and the size, the birds think that they are predators. And so they have a problem. And so now they're having to change how they're flying the drones, when they're flying the drones, because the drones are being attacked sometimes by up to 6 or 7 birds at a time. Yeah, to protect the little baby birds. Yeah.
The revenge of nature.
Exactly.
You've been attacked by birds, Blake?
Oh, my drone. Yeah, it's so cool. Had a hawk fly by it, and I almost got the video. I mean,
that would have been
cool. How amazing.
Yeah. It was so cool.
All righty. Blake, your choice this morning. A case of mistaken identity. How you doing? Or only 1 5-star review.
How you doing?
How you doing? Yeah. Now,
doing?
According to a brand new survey, there's something that all of us old people are not including in our text messages. All righty, we got to check on this one. Here's a snap survey. Blake Olson in the newsroom. Do you include emojis in most of your text messages?
No.
Jeff Hunt, do you include emojis in most of your text messages? See, here's the thing. Jeff is the only one that is down with the kids. According to a new survey, 41% of people believe that every single text message needs to include an emoji. Otherwise, it is not complete. Now, oddly enough, the fewest percentages are in the boomers. And then you get to X and you go on down. So it gets larger and larger and larger, down to 46% of Gen Xers say you need to have an emoji in every single text message from now on. So again, Blake, I'm making a resolution here on the Jeff and Bill Show. From now on, all my text messages are getting an emoji because I'm going to be just as cool as the kids.
Love it.
Yep, they're all getting the eggplant.
Happy faces only.
No, eggplant. They're all getting the eggplant. Every single one of my text messages now gets an eggplant. I have to. I mean, if this is the rule, I got to follow the rules. Eggplant for everybody.
There was a great social media meme that was about how dads respond to pretty much all text messages with just a thumbs up.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
Conversation. Right. We just had a baby. Thumbs up.
Thumbs up, yes. My favorite,
he's named after you. Thumbs up.
my favorite was the older mother who didn't understand what LOL meant. And so her daughter had texted her, hey, so-and-so's dad just died. And she goes, oh, that's horrible. LOL. And he goes, Mom, what are you doing? And she goes, I think that means lots of love. Isn't it lots of love? No, that is not what it means, which makes you wonder what other text messages and who else she's offended with this. All right, final choice this morning, Jeff Hunt. A case of mistaken identity or only 1 5-star review?
Only 1 5-star review,
yes,
please.
Only 1 5-star review. Hey, Mr. Hunt, have you ever wondered what it's like to truly live in outer space? Well, this is for you. Geoscientist and astronaut Dr. Cyan Proctor, the first Black woman to pilot a spacecraft, teamed up with TripAdvisor recently to give an honest review of her off-planet accommodations. Yes, she's talking about the International Space Station. Oddly enough, it got all 5 stars. But I want to share with you my favorite portion of her review. It was about sleep quality. Of course, 5 out of 5. And Dr. Proctor writes, I had 3 days of sleeping in space and I loved it. Floating to sleep was amazing. I never once thought about needing a pillow. The only issue was waking up, having spatial disorientation and needing a moment to realize, hey, I'm still floating in space.
That's awesome.
5 stars. Alrighty, back to you, sir. That's the end of You Choose the News.
Billy, don't look at the text message lines. There's plenty of emojis for you there, including some eggplant ones.
I bet they're all eggplants. And I'll send them right back.
All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into the Secret Service hearing that took place yesterday. Both sides calling for the director to resign. You're not going to want to miss it. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
It's 8 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Tuesday, July 23rd, and you tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center. Most of the time, it's pretty crazy, too. And that's important in this election season because, my goodness, what's been happening over the last few weeks has just been wild. But it's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. You won the lottery and got to wake up in the United States of America. So congratulations. Let's gear up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So get another cup of coffee brew in Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. It's going to be hazy and hotter today, 92 degrees. I love this time of year in Colorado. When we get back from Blake Olson and checking in with the news, I want to dive into the Secret Service hearing that took place yesterday. I was watching something pretty interesting there, Billy.
Yeah?
there was a moment where Lauren Boebert asked for her personal cell phone.
Oh, why?
I don't know. I'm sitting there going, what does Lauren Boebert know about the director of the Secret Service?
That's interesting.
And she said she'd be willing to turn it over if requested.
Oh, excellent. I'm curious.
I am curious there too. What does Lauren Boebert know?
And I'm trying very hard not to make a Beetlejuice joke. I'm so hard. I'm really, really trying hard.
That is tough.
That is tough on that one.
When we get into this too, there was a Republican congressman who went out and recreated it.
Yeah.
With his AR-15. We'll talk about his success rate. Yeah. And then there was a Democrat lawmaker that basically said, we need to be able to trust our institutions. The Secret Service is a zero-fail organization. You cannot fail at all. And I know you've got lots of events going on. You got lots of activities, but you can't fail when it comes to this. And she failed.
And I'm excited about the Republican lawmaker that went out and recreated that because, and we'll hear a little bit of it, because he doesn't understand how phenomenally obtuse that is. He doesn't understand. He thinks he's proving a great point, and he's not at all. He's doing something really, really, really stupid, but that's okay. He feels good about himself, and he feels proud of himself.
I'm gonna have to get your thoughts on that, because I thought it was pretty amazing.
No.
So all of this and more in the next hour. You're not going to miss it. Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Mr. Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. I'm looking forward to that. 66 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 90 to 92 today with smoke and haze once again in the air from Canada and the Northwest. The 17, wow. I work at a new radio station. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
I think you really do, if you want to win and you want to beat Trump, you've got to become the lead in all the news stories from now till November 5th.
You guys want to take a guess who that is? Are you still there, Jeff?
Sorry, we were talking about something else.
That's okay. I was going
to
play a little game. Do you know, you didn't hear the voice.
No, play the audio again. Yeah, let's play it again. Let's do the game.
Oh, well, I'm right at the middle, so I'll play a little bit here.
Ordinary old white guys, good old white guys.
Okay, can you guess who that may be?
Who is that?
Okay.
It sounds a little familiar with the draw, but it's not. It almost sounds like a Wilford Brimley, but it's not, because that's someone out of politics.
All right, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, here you go. Here's the rest of it.
Young white guys will not get that kind of attention. 2 women will. And maids. I mean, you cannot believe how impressive that would be.
Oh, yes. Willie Brown.
I was going to say, was that Willie Brown?
That's Willie.
Willie
Brown. Nice.
Kamala's lover.
So sorry guys, I didn't mean to interrupt you. The San Francisco mayor, an extremely close friend of Kamala Harris, he says she needs to select a woman as VP. We heard from President Biden on Monday for the first time in almost a week. He was on the phone with Harris along with supporters, independent reporters on X, saying that Biden's health is declining quickly and he may have suffered a mild stroke last week. But he was on the phone with Harris.
And I've been honored and humbled. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. My word is a Biden, that for all you've done for me and my family.
Word is a Biden. We've heard that before. I'm not sure that's a great word.
I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing. Help me get this nomination. Help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency.
Okay, so Harris has received an endorsement from George Clooney and raised $81 million. She's also secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination.
If Trump gets the chance, he will sign a national abortion ban to outlaw abortion in every single state, but we are not going to let that happen. It is this team here that is going to help in this November to elect a majority of members of the United States Congress who agree the government should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
Unless she has COVID and she needs to wear a mask. Speaking of babies, the strangest story Harris ever told.
I think it was my Uncle Freddie, looked down and looked in the stroller, which was empty, and said, "Where's Kamala?" And apparently they left me like a block behind. I'd fallen out the stroller. There you go. And then my mother would tell a funny story about how, like, one day and I was fussing and so I'm fussing and fussing. It's much cuter when she would tell the story, but she'd say, so then she would look down at me and, "Kamala, what do you want? What do you want?" And I looked back up at her and I said, "Freedom."
So she fell out of a stroller and they didn't realize it for at least a block.
And then she yelled, "Freedom."
Freedom. Wow,
Blake,
so
I'm trying to
cute.
figure out if I don't find that funny because I'm a conservative and I just don't really like Kamala.
Yeah, I'm trying
Or
to
is
be
she
objective.
I'm trying to be objective too. Or is it just not that funny?
It's not funny, man. I mean, especially if you're a parent. Are you kidding me?
Oh man. I don't know.
So you're a baby and you fall out of a stroller and they don't realize it for a block.
Is she like Bill? You're not as conservative in the camp as well. Is Kamala likable? Like when you listen to that and you're like, well, it's kind of funny. I like it. She gave it, she's lighthearted, all that. Am I just so far in the tank I can't see it?
I believe that she's more personable than both of you are giving her credit for.
Yeah.
And and I understand that you view that just as my opinion, but I would remind everybody in the conversation that she has won at least 4 elections. And so you don't do that by repulsing people. So she does have that ability to connect. And while I think the story about getting left behind, I think that one's funny about the baby, because that's not a story about her. That's a story about the parenting and the parents making a mistake. I understand the little freedom thing. I don't know the context of that, but if she's talking to someone about, struggling through civil rights, etc., and it's a thing about how she has been, fighting since she was a little tiny baby, if that's a context she's going for, okay, it's cute. Is it necessarily funny and endearing? No,
Baby
not necessarily.
Braveheart. Baby Braveheart.
But and that's basically what it's doing, and I understand why it's her mom's story. But for me, the worst thing is she starts out and says, "Oh, but my mom tells this better." You've now downgraded the story. You've told me your story is not that good. Don't do that. Tell me the story and say, yeah, but my mom tells it so much better. Then you pay off at the end saying it can be funnier. The thing, her choice of how she orders her syntax is very, very questionable at times. And yeah, I don't know. The other part is that we still have to think is she going to be more likable for people and voters than Trump? That's going to be the question, because that's what it's going to come down to.
Okay,
so.
I'm an eggplant.
Me too, my friend. Me too.
I'm just a big eggplant.
Exactly.
Democrats and Republicans released a rare joint letter calling on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to resign. The House Oversight Committee said Cheadle has failed during a congressional hearing on Monday.
How can a 20-year-old with his father's AR-15 assault weapon climb onto a roof with a direct 150-yard line of sight to the speaker's podium without the Secret Service or local police stopping him?
So again, sir, I will say we are 9 days out from this event, and I would like to know those answers as well.
When this guy took the shots, he climbed a ladder to get on the roof, correct?
I'm unable to answer details of exactly how the individual accessed the roof at this time.
All right, so she didn't talk to the men and women on the site either until 3 days later. Amazing. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston delivered his first State of the City address on Monday. He announced a new police initiative.
The best way to prevent crime is to build trust. So we will start a new practice of trust patrols, where officers can get out of their patrol car and walk through neighborhoods and talk to someone in a business or a rec center or at a public event and ask them what's working, what's not. What can we do better?
Okay, I trust the Denver police. You guys are doing great.
Hang on a sec. I got that question here in the back of the room. Again, not the smartest person in the class, but are we saying that up until this time, the police officers were somehow prevented from parking the vehicle, opening the door and talking to people about what's going wrong in the community?
Yeah,
was that a rule and a regulation before this? That
Right.
yeah,
They
yes,
do it all the time.
yes, you Denver police officers, go out and make sure you serve and protect, but for God's sakes, do not talk to any of the people you are supposed to be protecting, nor ask them what you're protecting them from. Do not ask. This is your job, and you make the decision. Good luck. What the hell?
Right. How's about a mayor trust patrol? Every day he needs to walk out and try to get the trust of everybody.
But this is the thing.
People. No, I agree with you, Bill.
And this is the thing that Jeff's been pointing out as well, is this sleight of hand that the people in charge of Denver have been playing, where they go ahead and they do something they should be doing anyway and going, look, we just decided to do this. What? Hang on. You mean you weren't doing that before?
Right.
Seriously? You're telling me that the patrol officers never talk to their community?
Right.
What the hell is going on? I got more questions.
You're inventing the wheel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sorry. I interrupted. Back to you.
Don't ever apologize. Get in this newscast whenever you want.
Line into right field. It's a base hit. It's the ball game. Ezekiel Tovar with a walk-off single. And in 12 innings, the Rockies get the victory, 9-8.
The great Jerry Schimmel and the Rocks back at it tonight at Coors against the Red Sox. Last surviving member of the Four Tops has died, Duke Fakur. He passed away at the age of 88. And so this is my excuse to play one of my favorite songs. When she will be Yes, that's what Willie Brown used to sing. Kamala left.
That is good.
63 in Brighton, 64 in Littleton, 66 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue.
Hey,
it is Tuesday, yes.
Blake, by the way, did you see how defensive Montel Williams gets if you ask him?
Oh, man.
Kamala.
Yes, I didn't see that till a couple of days ago. I need to find that again.
He's like, if you even ask about their relationship, it's misogynist and sexist. No, it's not.
Of course.
It's not. The American people have every right to know what was going on there.
Right,
I mean, if you got Billy Bush recorded videos from 20 years ago, Donald Trump, we can talk about Kamala, and she dated Montel Williams.
I know, man.
There you go.
Yeah, she was out there. She was one of the popular ones. All right, Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7:10 5-day forecast, sunny but with a smoky haze. That'll be with us for the next 3 days. Near 90 today. Temperatures tonight 60s, low to mid 90s Wednesday. Hot, middle to upper 90s Thursday, 90s Friday. Through Thursday, dry. For Friday and the weekend, we do expect thunderstorms to return. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So, Jeff, we have some breaking news. Breaking news coming out of Mayor Mike Johnston's office in Denver. A new directive to the police officers all around Denver. They now are supposed to arrest the people that are breaking the laws. Yes, you must arrest them. Unless the person is related to the sitting district attorney. Then that's fine. Then you just don't do anything at all. And let them light as many fires as you want.
I was going to say, and let the fires.
As many fires as you want. But again,
I would love to be a politician, just spike the football for stuff you're supposed to do.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that would be really cool.
It's just ridiculous.
When we walk out from doing a show after 4 hours.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Press conference. We'd like to thank everybody for the work we put into doing the job we were hired to do.
Yes, we have a new idea on the show where we are going to take callers. What? Hang on. What the hell? The mayor coming out and saying, yes, the police officers' new plan is to have them talk to the people they are protecting. That's freaking genius. That's great. Now we just arrested people breaking the laws and we got this whole thing solved, right?
Yeah.
This is why we can't have nice things. This is really why we can't have nice things.
Speaking of not doing the job they should have been doing.
Hey, high five transition. Nicely done.
Axios reporting Secret Service director grilled over Trump rally shooting. Members of the House Oversight Committee castigated U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatham Monday over her agency's failure to prevent the attempted assassination of former President Trump. Why does it matter? Well, Cheadle is facing mounting bipartisan calls to resign and intense scrutiny among a flurry of probes into the shooting earlier this month that wounded the Republican presidential nominee, left one dead and two others seriously injured. It is my firm belief, Director Cheadle, that you should resign, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said at the outset of Monday's hearings. Representative Jamie Raskin, of a Democrat from Maryland, the top Democrat on the panel, also called for her resignation, saying the Secret Service chief had lost the confidence of Congress in a very urgent and tender moment in the history of the country. Billy, I gave about 3 hours of my life to listening to the 6.5 hours of testimony that took place yesterday.
You make poor choices.
And let me tell you about it.
Yeah.
So there were moments of brilliance. There were moments of real good questions, right? How did a 20-year-old outsmart one of the most serious organizations that has over a $3 billion budget?
Okay, hang on a second.
How did a 20-year-old outsmart them?
Rewind just a second.
That's a good question.
Did you really use the words Congress, brilliant, and good questions in the same sentence?
I did.
I'm
going to get to one of these here in a second.
Okay. You've got my attention.
And there was good bipartisanship. There were moments, and I'll play the audio clip of one of the Democrats there that I thought did a really good job about highlighting the importance of trust in our neutral federal institutions, right? We've lost trust in the FBI. Their trust level is at record lows, and for good reason, but that's not good for this country. And look, after COVID, we lost trust in all the health institutions because of the baloney they were pushing all the time. And now you're losing trust in the Secret Service. And to his credit, he did a good job on that. But then it just spiraled into bizarre little sideshows like George I think Connolly from Virginia, who went after her and tried to pin her down on Second Amendment issues, saying the reason that this assassination attempt really took place was because there's too many guns out there. And don't you, Madam Director, believe there are too many guns in America? And he kept trying to pin her down. Come on, there's too many guns. And the director of Secret Service, really? Going into Second Amendment issues on that? So Democrats sometimes steered into that land, which was kind of interesting. And then Republicans, a handful of times, kind of brought up border issues. Aren't we a threat because we have the border issues coming through? But a lot of them really went after the failure on the day. And because she didn't provide a lot of answers, you had a lot of the Congress people getting pretty angry because she kept deferring to the FBI. We have an active investigation. I understand, right? Any remarks she makes could be used in future lawsuits, so she needs to be careful, and she's under oath. But I thought that this was one of the more compelling ones. This is a Democrat representative.
You know what Stuart Knight did when he was in charge at the time of the Secret Service? You know what he did afterwards?
He remained on duty.
He resigned. And Stuart Knight was not a Democratic appointee or a Republican appointee. Look, I'm not questioning your judgment. I just don't think this is partisan. If you have an assassination attempt on a president, a former president, or a candidate, you need to resign. That's what Stuart Knight did. He was a Republican appointee, and he took responsibility. And I think you need to reflect. This is not a question of you. It's a question of the American people. You cannot go leading a Secret Service agency when there is an assassination attempt on a presidential candidate. I would say that about anyone who is running. And so I guess my question to you is, what's the difference between your position and what Stuart Knight did?
What I will tell you, sir, is that I am dedicated to finding the answers to what happened. And like every Secret Service agent, we don't shirk from our responsibilities. I will remain on and be responsible to the agency, to this committee, to the former president, and to the American public.
But is there a reason you wouldn't just do what Stuart Knight did after the Reagan assassination attempt?
I believe that I provided an answer.
There's nothing more that you have to say. I mean, do you really believe at this moment, given how divided the country is and the questions asked, that your service in this role is the best for the nation? I mean, I'm not saying you can't do public service again, you can't do something else again. Do you really genuinely in your heart believe that you being in this role is what's right for America at this moment?
I thought that was really compelling. That's Representative Kahana. He's a Democrat lawmaker. And that was kind of the tone that came from both sides.
Yeah, that was surprising.
Is that the United States Secret Service, who protects people irregardless of their party affiliation, irregardless of their party beliefs or political beliefs, they have a zero-fail mission.
Yeah.
And a 20-year-old loner, crazy dude, found his way through security, spent anywhere from 20 to 50 minutes with a rangefinder, a drone, setting up, was noticed by police, was still allowed to do all that, and wasn't neutralized until after he had taken the shot. And questions abound around, okay, well, what about actual foreign actors that would want to kill the president? If a 20-year-old loner can do this, don't you think a actual assassin from Iran is going to get a lot closer, or at least achieve something a lot worse than what this guy did? And she didn't really have good answers.
Yeah, the drone is a real problem for her, because that is a real compromise of the security in the area. The fact that you would allow anybody aerial access to look at that within a couple of hours before the president's there. Now, am I saying that someone that flies a drone over anybody's political speech in the next 6-7 months should be arrested? No. But should they be talked to by the police, and should they take their identification and know who they are so that they show up later, that it would be something that you would know about? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Billy, to that point, they asked her that direct question. Did any law enforcement officer at least confront the guy?
Yeah.
Go, hey, bro, what you doing? Because that may have changed the entire direction on this. They never once did. Did you see that movie with Morgan Freeman, though, where he's the president of the United States and they attack him with drones?
Oh, yeah.
So in that case, I don't think you could be flying drones anywhere near the president of the United States.
Yeah. Again,
because
when he's
just
there
put
beforehand.
Put a little bullet or bomb or something on it.
Absolutely. And it's weird when you talk about, the actors outside the country looking at Iran or somewhere else. On a side note, I think that's one of the reasons, and this is just a side note and it's not necessarily fair. Side note, why we don't see a large number of in-country terrorist attacks, because of things like, we're shooting and doing things like that to each other all the time. It's difficult to get that kind of a big splash in this nation in order to do that as far as a terrorist attack. Because, we've got people walking into the King Soopers near Boulder that just does it to ourselves. So that's one of the issues there. But it's a great question about the lacks in preparation for when you were setting up the security perimeter. And there is a huge question. I appreciated some of the representatives that I heard yesterday asking about where that perimeter was set and why the building that had such a good sight line was in the perimeter that the local law enforcement needed to take care of, not the Secret Service. Why is your circle so small? Why wouldn't you put the Secret Service in charge of all of those possible sight lines? Why wouldn't you do that? Why would you depend on local law enforcement and assume they're making the right choice? And I think that's a wonderful question, that you should know what the dangers are. You are tuned into the dangers in a way local law enforcement isn't. Why wouldn't you set up a perimeter that would include all possible dangers so that you can control that? Why would you allow someone else to make that decision? It's a great question.
So I want to get into what I think was the best line of questioning in a 6.5 hour testimony. We're not going to play all 6.5 hours. No, but I thought this went right to the heart of the failures. We'll get to her in just a second. Billy, tell us a little bit about Balanced Well Space.
Yeah, you know, we talked about the pain that the Secret Service chief was going through yesterday, and I felt her pain because I go through pain each and every day. But I have found a solution, and it's a team that I think can make a difference in your life too. It's Balanced Well Space. They are a team of doctors that can do everything from chiropractic to neuropathy, physical rehabilitation, wave therapy, regenerative care. They can do trigger point injections, and they have some amazing cutting-edge technology as well. Now, if you're ready to experience the transformative power of integrative medicine, visit balancewellspace.com. They're brand new to Denver. I feel lucky that I have found this. And the reason it's amazing is because you have an entire medical team working towards your care. You're dealing with neuropathy. You get that tingling, that pain. I feel you. I've got awful sciatica. My lower two vertebrae are beginning to fuse together. I get the idea of the tingle, the pain, losing that strength in your legs. They've got incredible treatments for neuropathy. I've got people that I go to appointments with that are getting other treatments at the same time. Where they are now versus where they are when they walked through that door the first time is absolutely remarkable. There's one guy there, he's not afraid of stairs anymore. He didn't want to do stairs ever because the pain that he was in and how difficult it was for him to navigate those stairs. Now, it's not a deal. He's not worried about it at all. Same thing here. My back would stop me from doing so many things. Now, I'm not worried about it. I had to remind myself when I was sitting kind of funny over the weekend, goofing around with the dog, that I can't have a new back, but they have got me as close to having a new back as possible. I had surgery more than 25 years ago. I've got a messed up shoulder. Gave me trigger point injections yesterday. The deep throbbing pain I was going through is now gone. I have better mobility. And guess what? My right shoulder is not making the popping popcorn sounds like they used to anymore either. So the thing for me is I get one appointment. Yesterday I was there. Within an hour and 20 minutes, 5 different things. I got a light workout. They then turned around. We did some traction. We then went in and did some wave therapy, followed by trigger point injections, followed by this thing called Synexus. Oh, it's changed my life. They put these weird suction cups on your back, a little bit of sponges, and then it gives you an electrical massage. And that has changed the mobility and the tightness in my lower back and in my neck. I forgot to tell you, I got 3 herniated discs in my neck as well. Again, I am an absolute train wreck of a human, and they are making a difference in my life. If I am this messed up and they're making a difference for me, imagine what they can do for you. Talk to the team that I trust, balancewellspace.com. We're talking about transformative power, easy for me to say, of integrative medicine, because your entire team puts a plan together for you. They talk, they reevaluate where you're going, and it's a one-stop shop. Your doctors, all the team that you've got in different offices, they're never talking. This team talks about you regularly. Every 2 to 3 weeks, they reevaluate where you are. They come to you, they talk to you about where you're going and how they're going to change your care. This is a level of medical care that I have not experienced before, and I want you to take advantage of it as well. balancewellspace.com, brand new offices in Denver, right across the street from Lowry, Hangar 2. Couldn't be easier to find, and the best, lots of parking. For me, that's important. I know how it is going downtown. You're like, I got to park 7 blocks away in order to just get to the place I'm going in the first place. That's not what you do with Balanced Well Space. The parking is amazing, right across the street from Hangar 2 in Lowry. Check them out today, balancewellspace.com. I want them to do for you what they've done for me.
So a representative took his AR-15 and tried to replicate what happened in the assassination attempt at Donald Trump. We're going to play that audio next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Wow, Billy, breaking news. Fox News reporting the Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle resigned.
Amazing. So she's out. They probably
She
were listening
needed-
to a show this last 30 minutes before we did her in.
Well, Billy, this was the questioning that I thought was the most powerful with regards to her competency. This is Representative Fallon.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Fallon from Texas.
How did a 20-year-old loner with a week's notice pick the absolute best location to assassinate President Trump when the entire Secret Service missed it? Director Cheadle, in your leadership, your agency got outsmarted and outmaneuvered by a 20-year-old. How can we have any confidence that you could stop a trained professionals from a nefarious nation state?
Those are absolutely questions that we need to have.
I know they're
answers
questions,
to.
but the fact of the matter is we can't have that confidence. Director, do you have the ability personally, and do you have the authority to beef up security of any of your protectees?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So were you also aware there was a credible threat President Trump was facing? He was facing a heightened security threat to a foreign adversary?
Yes.
Okay. So given that there was an increased threat to President Trump's life, was he provided a full security complement akin to what a sitting U.S. president would receive?
He was provided a full complement of security based on the threat assessment that we had.
That's not my
and
question.
the venue.
My question is, if he'd been the sitting president, would he have had the same security he had on July 13th, or would have been beefed up?
There is a difference between the
So
sitting
he did.
president
So your answer is he didn't.
and continuity of government and the responsibility
So he
that we
did
have.
not. Okay, there wasn't a CAT team, the full CAT team on site. There wasn't counter surveillance teams on site. But this is the thing. You just said you had the ability to beef up the security. You knew about the threat, and you didn't. And that's as telling as it is chilling. We have satellite images from the Butler Fairgrounds. Have you visited the site?
No, I have not.
9 days and you have not visited the site. You should have been there that night. Did you talk to, that evening, did you talk to the team, the heroes that surrounded the president? Did you call them that night?
They were still operational work.
So that's an answer is no. Did you call them the next day?
President. Yes, I spoke with.
You called them the very next day, not the day of, or was it 72 hours after?
I don't know the timeline, but I spoke with
Okay,
them
because you're under oath.
immediately
I
following.
think it was 72 hours after. You waited 3 days. What is immediately clear is that there are a number of structures that need to be secured. Of these, Director, other than the first, immediate four, what's the most dangerous site that should have been secured? Because security 101, you got to mitigate the high ground.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what the next most dangerous site? What was the closest structure to the president, other than the four immediate ones that you had your counter sniper teams on?
There are a number of structures around that event site.
You know who the shooter knew? The shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have, and he had a drone, and he picked the AGR building. So you said, do you remember in an ABC interview you did that you didn't have people on the roof of the AGR building because you were worried about safety because of the slope?
I recall that statement.
Okay. Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about slope roofs?
No.
Okay. So why'd you act like there was one? Because is it your practice to comment on enormous events of enormous national implications when you're ignorant of the facts? That's rhetorical. So here's this thing with the slopes. You go all up to like 1812. You can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat. And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there. But the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112. And by the way, the 112 is ADA compliant. You can build a ramp for a wheelchair on a 112 roof. So these are nothing but pathetic excuses, and they make no sense, and they're a bunch of cow dung. All the law enforcement I've spoken with over the last 9 days are amazed that the AGR rooftop was not secure. You want to know why? Because it's dangerous. I have never had any long gun training in my life. I own an AR-15, and last time I shot it one time my whole life. It was 6 years ago. That is until Saturday, where we recreated the events in Savoy, Texas. We recreated what happened in Butler. I was lying prone on a sloped roof at 130 yards at 6:30 at night. And I knew that he had a scope. I didn't know what kind, red dot or magnified. So I shot 8 rounds from both. You know what the result was? 15 out of 16 kill shots. And the one I missed would have hit the president's ear. That's a 94% success rate. And that shooter was a better shot than me. It is a miracle President Trump wasn't killed. Corey Comparatore life is over because that damn shooter made it on the roof. And it wasn't the roof that was dangerous. It was a nut job on top of the roof. You know what else is dangerous? I believe your horrifying ineptitude and your lack of skilled leadership is a disgrace. Your obfuscating today is shameful. And you should be fired immediately and go back to Garden Doritos. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
That line, go back to guarding Doritos. So prior to being the director of the Secret Service, now she'd spent 27 years with the Secret Service, but then she went to be head of global security with PepsiCo. So Doritos, Pepsi, those types of things. And then she came back to become the director of the Secret Service.
Can we blame her for those stupid mashup flavors Doritos is doing? Because some of those things are awful. They're just horrible.
But I mean, never visited the site. It's been 9 days. The director of the Secret Service, in one of the greatest failures in 40 years, had not visited the site, did not call the Secret Service agents involved for 72 hours, 3 days, did not provide the same level of protection between a president and a candidate in light of known threats coming from Iran. And then the sloped roof and the wheelchair and the ADA compliant.
That was good.
He dismantled her career and her decision-making. And now Fox reporting Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle has resigned.
Yeah. And
Wow.
as a salesman extraordinaire here at Salem, Mark Anderson points out that seems like former Director Cheadle's career is on the downslope.
But
sorry, he's the dad joke guy. He's the dad joke guy here. Yes.
Billy, you didn't like the idea he took his AR-15.
No, I think that was for me a performative pile of BS and a giant pile of crap.
Didn't he call it bull? Bull something.
But no, that's what he's doing. The whole idea that I went out and I recreated it. No, you didn't. Asshat, you didn't. And here's the reason why. In that example, I got one question: who was shooting at him? Who was shooting at him? That's important in this situation because if you remember our conversation with the Army sniper and competitive long-distance shooter the Monday after the Trump shooting, one of the things that he talked about was the adrenaline, the emotion, and your heartbeat when you know as soon as you pull that trigger, you've identified where you are. So now everything is rushing forward. So there is a lot of compression on your ability, a lot of compression on emotions. And our sniper friend even said that part of it could be that he was breathing incorrectly. And so and I would assume that the person that took shots at Trump, because I'm not going to mention his name because I don't like doing that, that person, if you take them down to a range, probably would replicate what Representative Fallon did. In fact, I would submit that that's probably the reason why the shooter chose that area and that distance, because the shooting range that he had visited went to a maximum of 200 yards. So he had a practice range of only a 200-yard window where he felt comfortable. And so he was absolutely comfortable. But when you get into a live fire situation, everybody in the military will tell you it's 100 degrees difference.
I don't think the point was that he was going to be able to take 15 shots without that type of pressure. I think what he was pointing out was, here's a guy with like no experience. He has no experience. He hasn't even shot the AR-15, but one other time. And he was able to hit something at 140, 150 yards, relatively on target.
But again, in an antiseptic situation.
Right. I don't think he's dismissing that.
Well, yes, he is.
But he's trying to prove that you can hit that target. He's obviously not creating the idea that he was about to lose his life with a response shot. What he was pointing out was that the assassin had more training, got that close, and was able to take a shot. And thank God Donald Trump didn't die.
Yeah, well,
because in the scenario he recreated, Donald Trump died just about every time.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, is that, and that's where Representative Fallon disproves his own conclusion based on the situation. He's like, I was able to hit him most of the time. We know that, according to Representative Fallon, this better trained shooter in a similar situation didn't hit Trump once. That tells you about the situation. That live fire is different than the antiseptic situation that Representative Fallon set up.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah,
I think he's just pointing out how dang close he was able to get. The assassin was, this 20-year-old was able to get to a place within 150 yards of the former president of the United States with a weapon that,
See, that's
could be pretty bad.
And he's right. And that's it. But then when he goes into the idea, and I recreated it, it's performative crap. That means absolutely nothing. But you know what? Emotionally, it sounds super cool. It sounds really cool. But does it prove anything? Not a darn thing, according to our sniper friend we talked to last week.
Well, we're going to get to Frank here in just a second. Give us a call at 303-696-1971. Would love to hear your thoughts on what happened yesterday. Are you glad that the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle, has resigned? Fox just breaking that now after the grilling, the 6-hour grilling she faced from both Republicans and Democrats, that when you are the director of the Secret Service, you have a zero-fail policy. You must protect everybody. And when it goes wrong, you are the one to pay the price for it. Do you think that's the right move? Give us a call, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. I want to talk to you about my good friend, Dr. Mike in the Rocky Mountain Dental Group. I was not born with good teeth. I have some genetic issues there, so I spend a lot of time in the dentist's office. Believe me, I get my teeth cleaned 3 times a year, not just twice, 3 times a year. And if you can imagine bridges, implants, all that stuff, I've had it done, crowns. So I know good dentists, and Dr. Mike up there in Rocky Mountain Dental Group in Lakewood is absolutely wonderful, top-notch guy. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. I've been going there for over 20 years. Dr. Mike and his entire staff are outstanding. I like the fact that the same person always cleans my teeth. If you need an awesome dentist, Dr. Mike is your guy. If your gums are receding, it's critical to address the issues promptly. Dr. Mike is a top-tier expert in the Chow pinhole surgical technique. This method requires no cutting, no sutures, and virtually no downtime. The procedure involves making a small hole in the tissue and gently repositioning of the gums. Schedule a free consultation with Dr. Mike to discover all the benefits of his revolutionary procedure. Call 303-233-1335 or visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com to book your free consultation today. We'll continue with your calls and the resignation of the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Kamala Harris is hitting the campaign trail with the battleground state of Wisconsin as her first stop. It comes as multiple sources are reporting the vice president has enough backers to become the official nominee at the Democratic National Convention next month. Many in India are cheering Kamala Harris on as she looks set to become the Democratic presidential nominee. Harris's mother was from the country, and the vice president has often spoken about her Indian links. From New Delhi, Nehar Punia has more.
Many in India may finally have a reason to start paying attention to the US presidential race. Some have taken to social media to say they're excited that a person of Indian heritage could become America's next leader. Many similarly celebrated her becoming vice president in 2020, saying it was a proud moment for India. Kamala Harris's mother was born in Chennai in southern India and moved to the US as a 19-year-old student. But some experts say it might be too soon to celebrate and that Kamala Harris as president may ruffle some feathers here in New Delhi. She's been a known and a vocal critic of human rights abuses which have been conducted under the current Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's regime.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go?
Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're talking the Secret Service Director, Kimberly Cheadle, has resigned. Let's go to the phone lines. Frank, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Frank.
Who is this guy Fallon? I haven't heard of him. And is he a lawyer? Is he a former military? How did he have so much articulate and fiery questions for this lady?
Well, I don't know his background. He's a congressional member from Texas, but a very talented speaker. I thought he did a good job diving into those issues with her.
He quite articulately dismantled her and the typical bureaucratic response, which is one of having roots and not going anywhere. But I was surprised that we got to notice that she resigned. But, you know, anyway, I was calling about the weather report. The guy said that the weather for Denver for the next day or two was sunny with a smoky haze. And what that reminded me of was either a nice Fumé Blanc or Camilla's mental status. You know,
Sunny with a chance of haze. That is good. That is good.
Hey, Frank, just because you're asking about Fallon, it's Representative Pat Fallon, Republican out of Texas, did serve in the state legislature for a while before making the jump to the 4th congressional district inside of the state to then be a national rep. Has a really interesting background. Serial entrepreneur, has started more than a dozen successful businesses, has done some really cool charity stuff to raise funds for pediatric cancer research and some other stuff. The thing that I found the most interesting that you might like, Frank, is he actually is a graduate of the University of Notre Dame. He went to Notre Dame, and it gets better. He played varsity football under Lou Holtz and was a member of the 88 national championship team. So he holds a national championship football ring, and he was coached by Lou Holtz. So that's who the guy is.
Wow. Thank you for that, Billy.
No problem.
I heard Lou Holtz speak when he came to Denver one time for a charity, and he was really good. It seems like we're getting a bunch of these sharp young guys that have been raised on smartphones and have minds like Vivek Ramaswamy. The question is, how much credence do we give them? We have to. There is a reason that our country was set up with this open debate thing, but also this lag time. We're not like England, who after 1,000 years have come around to the quick dumping of a guy or a woman if they don't like them. But we have more of a slow process. So I think it's great to hear all these great and smart and quick ideas. They sound good on the surface, but they have to be vetted and trotted out. And
that's right, Frank. That's where the wise sages come into play.
Yeah,
like Frank himself.
Yeah, and being on the smartphone, getting to social media is great. It's a great qualification, but also remember that's also the group that's eating Tide Pods and jumping out of moving cars. Not necessarily an endorsement all the time.
All right, Ted Harvey, former Colorado State Senator, is up next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
9 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Billy Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy breaking news that's happened while we've been on air. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle has resigned. She's out after overseeing the protection of Donald Trump when that assassination attempt took place. So we'll cover this and a lot more in the coming hour. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver, and let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Coming up after the news with Blake Olson, we're going to talk with Ted Harvey, former Colorado State Senator. There's now an email responding to Steve Peck. So if you missed the show yesterday, Steve Peck was on talking about how Dave Williams, the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party, needs to go. Well, to our fellow Central Committee voting members, there's now an email saying, hold on, Steve Peck. We stand in solidarity with Dave Williams, and includes some impressive names: State Representative Brandy Bradley, State Senator Kevin Van Winkle, newly elected county commissioner in Douglas County, Douglas County Treasurer Dave Gill, and former state representatives Kim Ransom and Ted Harvey. So the Civil War drama continues within the Colorado Republican Party. We're going to get to that and more, but let's check in first on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, good morning, Jeff and Billy. 71 and sunny in Denver, expecting a high of 92 today with smoke and haze from Canada and the Northwest in the air. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story.
Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I'll have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That is a no. You're full of today. You're just being completely dishonest.
So Democrats and Republicans released a rare joint letter calling on Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheadle to resign. And this morning she has done just that after former President Trump was almost assassinated.
So again, sir, I will say we are 9 days out from this event, and I would like to know those answers as well.
When this guy took the shots, he climbed a ladder to get on the roof, correct?
I'm unable to answer details of exactly how the individual accessed the roof at this time.
Now, if they could only do the same with Alejandro Mayorkas and Merrick Garland, our country would be in much better shape.
Speak out on guns and child care, elder care, prescription drugs, and climate. Climate still is the existential threat that we face, and if we don't win this thing, it's all in jeopardy.
President Biden pushing that climate thing on the phone with VP Kamala Harris and her supporters in Delaware on Monday. Plenty of speculation on X that Biden may have suffered a serious health emergency a week ago, and many believe that his physical health is diminishing very quickly, but he sounded almost as alert as he's been in weeks.
So I'm hoping you'll give every bit of your heart and soul that you gave to me to Kamala. I know it's hard because you poured your heart and soul into me to help us win this thing, help me get this nomination, help me win the nomination, and then go on to win the presidency.
Harris has received an endorsement from George Clooney.
Oh, he's so handsome.
And raised $81 million. She's also secured enough delegates to receive the official nomination.
Joe, I know you're still on the call, and we've been talking every day.
On the recording?
You guys heard it from Doug's voice. We love Joe and Jill. We really do.
It's neutral.
I knew you were still there. You're not going anywhere, Joe.
I'm watching you, kid. I'm watching you, kid. I love you.
I love you, Joe. Oh.
Man, I just have tingles down my spine.
I'm just so happy.
It's so good. And like Frank said, sunny and smoky and haze. Frank was right on that one, man. I'm feeling so good this morning. How about you?
Dude, MSNBC was saying the same thing. You're getting the whole Chris Matthews tinge down the leg stuff again.
Oh, man, the tingle down the leg.
How?
Man.
I think it's a tinkle. I think it was a tinkle?
Yeah, I think it was a tingle or something, man. On the left leg, or I don't know.
Oh, man.
Maybe it was a tinkle. I'm not sure. You know what? Our brains are so programmed to watching Biden the last 4 years. It's just, I agree with Chris Murray on this. Anyone looks and sounds better. And Chris was on with Jeff and Bill this morning.
If I was a Democrat, I would say I'd be excited because I've got a different candidate than Joe Biden, right? She's, by the way, I think we can all agree, a better candidate than Joe Biden. I mean, she can form a sentence and like sometimes has a coherent thought. I mean, so that unfortunately, that's the bar we had.
That's true. Denver Mayor Mike Johnston delivered his first State of the City address on Monday. He announced a new police initiative. He wants police to do what they've done since the late 1800s here in Denver, talk to people. And Johnston talked about a proposed sales tax increase that would bring an estimated $100 million a year for affordable housing. He also mentioned the Denver Asylum Seekers Program, which helps illegal immigrants moving into the city.
Line to the right field, it's a base hit. It's the ball game. Ezekiel Tovar with a walk-off single. And in 12 innings, the Rockies get the victory, 9-8.
Wow. Over the Red Sox, that was a good one. Back at it tonight at Coors Field. Thank you, Jerry, for that one. When she was like her. That was not Willie Brown, but one of the greatest Four Tops hits ever. That's Duke McCurr, and passed away at the age of 88, the last member of the Four Tops surviving. 68 in Arvada, 69 in Highlands Ranch, and 71 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue tingling down their spine or whatever. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
The 7:10 5-day forecast, sunny but with a smoky haze. That'll be with us for the next 3 days. Near 90 today. Temperatures tonight 60s, low to mid 90s Wednesday. Hot, middle to upper 90s Thursday, 90s Friday. Through Thursday, dry. For Friday and the weekend, we do expect thunderstorms to return. Weather sponsored by Branch Planning. Some income annuities are paying 25 to 45% more than last year. Get a free retirement review by calling Branch Planning today at 720-651-9800. Find out more at branchplanning.com. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
All right, yesterday, Steve Peck, the chairman of the Douglas County Republicans, joined us to explain a letter he had drafted to Central Committee members regarding Dave Williams, essentially saying that while he was initially a big supporter of Dave Williams and loved the conservative direction of the Republican Party in Colorado, it's just gotten so divisive. We are not building a big tent. We're not building a coalition that can win. And so he finishes his letter by saying he's going to join with Todd Watkins, Nancy Pelosi of Jefferson County next Saturday, July 27th, in a vote to remove Dave Williams. Well, I texted a little bit of the other side of this battle happening within the Republican Party and asked them to come on and explain from their perspective what's happening. And joining the Jeff and Bill's former state senator, Ted Harvey. State Senator, thanks so much for being on the program with us.
Hey, good morning.
You bet. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
So there's another letter that's been drafted in response. This one saying, in light of the recent email from Steve Peck, Douglas County Republican Party chair, we, the undersigned, felt it was necessary to respond as individual members of the SEC from Douglas County. Our purpose is to stand in support of Dave Williams and our entire team of state officers. To be clear, Steve has not been authorized to speak for our county party.
on the subject, and the opinions expressed in this email are exclusively his own. You got some big names here. State Representative Bradley, State Senator Kevin Van Winkle, Douglas County Treasurer Dave Gill, former State Representative Kim Ransom, and a number of other conservative activists. Ted, tell us about the response to what Steve Peck did. What do you think?
Well, as a duly elected chairman of the Douglas County Republican Party and therefore a member of the State Central Committee, he has every right as an individual member to take any position he wants to take, and that's his right to do that. We just wanted to let the rest of the State Central Committee members know that there is a large contingency, a great majority of the members of the Douglas County State Central Committee members that do not think having a removal of the state chair at this point in the election process is the wise thing to be doing. And we need to be uniting the party and making sure that we win 4 congressional seats at the state level and hopefully take back a few seats in the state Senate and the state House. And so I think on behalf of all of those that signed the letter, we need to be uniting the party and focusing on getting Donald Trump elected and getting Republicans elected across the state and not having this food fight within the Republican Party.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit about kind of the mechanics here for those of us that aren't fully acquainted with it? There's been an effort to call a meeting, but Chairman Williams believes that the meeting isn't legal. The meeting was being called to vote him out, but there's questions to whether or not that meeting can even take place. Can you give us some insight and oversight to what's happening there?
Well, sure. It's not Chairman Williams that thinks it's illegal. It's the Colorado Republican Party Executive Committee who voted to say that the meeting was illegal. When Todd Watkins brought forward his petition, whatever you want to say, to call for a Central Committee meeting, you have to have 25% of the members of the Central Committee signing a letter to require that to be kicked in. And what Todd brought forward was an Excel spreadsheet with the names of people on there that was not public. Nobody knows who's on that list. He didn't make it public. He just provided the chair a spreadsheet of names. And that's just not the way we do things. You always have to provide the list of signatures and people's signatures, or at least a paper trail to show the emails of the people going back and forth, or text messages saying, yes, I agree to this. And when Dave Williams asked for a paper trail, Todd Watkins said, no, I'm not going to provide that. If you want to contact the people and confirm that they're on there, you do that. And I just didn't think that was appropriate. Not just for Dave Williams, that's a total separate issue, but for the integrity of the Republican Party. So former State Representative Tim Leonard and myself filed a, whatever you call it, a grievance, a complaint with the Executive Committee of the state party saying this is not how this should be done. He should provide a paper trail to say these people actually signed this letter, and the Executive Committee agreed with Tim Leonard and myself, and they ruled that those signatures were not valid, and therefore a meeting that is called by somebody not the leadership of the party or the Executive Committee is not valid if they're doing it based on these signatures. And so that's what the Executive Committee voted. Dave didn't even vote on that. He abstained because there's conflict of interest. And so he abstained, and the Executive Committee voted overwhelmingly that the signatures were not valid, and therefore a meeting this Saturday is not legal either.
They're going to get together and put together a little meeting and then try to do a vote against Chairman Dave Williams, but it's just not going to go anywhere? Is that going to be the result?
Well, based on what the Executive Committee voted, that it's an illegal meeting because the signatures were not valid. And so they can have a meeting if they want, but they have to have 30% of the entire Central Committee to be a quorum, and then they have to get 3/5 of the entire Central Committee to remove Dave. And I don't think they're going to have 30% to have a quorum, much less 3/5 to remove Dave. And this meeting, which the Executive Committee has ruled is not appropriate.
So yesterday on the show, Steve Peck said he's willing to step out on this, that he believes that for the sake of the future of the Colorado Republican Party, that Dave Williams needs to go. He's even considering possibly stepping into the role as chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. But he even went so far as to say if he's wrong here, he'll resign as chairman of the Douglas County Republican Party. You think Steve Peck should resign, Ted Harvey?
Well, like I said, I think Steve has every right as a member of the state central committee to take any position he wants to take. It's a free country. I think that it is ill-advised to take that position, that we should be getting in the middle of this fight going into the general election. And that's why you saw the majority of the members of the state central committee from Douglas County sending out a letter in response saying, this is not the time to be doing this. If you want to remove the chairman, there's an election coming up at the very beginning of next year. Let's have that election. But right now is not the time. And I think Steve was ill-advised and impetuous to be sending that letter out.
Now, I want to ask you just a question, Ted Harvey, former state senator, about the 3/5 rule. Again, I'm not trying to submarine you or anything else. I just want clarification on it because I'm kind of confused. Is the 3/5 of the ruling committee or the ruling committee have to vote? Is it in total, or is it just those present and accounted for? And what I'm asking, and the reason I'm asking is if they even just got ones that are on their side and they say, okay, even though we don't have the full committee, if we get 3/5 of those that are present and voting, would they be able to circumvent the rules? I'm just not familiar with the rules. I'm just asking for clarification. That's it, man.
Well, our bylaws, the state bylaws, are pretty darn clear that you have to have 30% of the entire state central committee in order to have a quorum. And then you have to have 3/5 of the entire state central committee in order to remove the state chair. And I don't think they'll get either one of them this Saturday. And the chairman, Dave Williams, has called for a meeting to deal with all of this on August 31st. And Todd Watkins and Nancy from Jefferson County have appealed the executive committee's ruling to be dealt with at the on the August 31st meeting. So they understand that the executive committee's ruling did have standing, and so that's why they are appealing it to the full central committee. And otherwise, you wouldn't appeal. So that appeal will take place on August 31st when Dave Williams called a legitimate central committee meeting, and we can deal with all of this. And if they have the votes at that central committee meeting, that's the will of the central committee. But I think that's ill-advised to do that, but they have every right to do that. Everybody has the right to have the vote.
Thank you for outlining that, Ted Harvey. I think that's very important for our listeners to kind of dial into, that regardless of how many people show up to what's going on Saturday, if 3/5 of the central committee aren't there, there's no mechanism in place to remove Williams. I think that's very important in this conversation. Now, this is something a little more esoteric, a little larger, and I want to talk about strategy. We're talking about the potential of removing Dave Williams as the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. I'm not going to say yes or no that he should be removed, but what I want to talk about is when. Let's just for the conversation assume that a change needs to be placed, and we can even say that it is someone else. We can even say that is Bo Jiden that is running the Colorado GOP, just for fun today, not Dave Williams. Is it smarter, given what has happened in primaries and where the Colorado GOP is currently, is it smarter to change leadership now or smarter to change leadership next year during the election? Your thoughts?
Well, like I said, we're having the meeting on August 31st. Then you would have to elect somebody to be in there. The ballots go out, I think it's about the 15th of October. What is that new chairman going to do in that 2-month period? I think we need to be focusing on raising money, doing everything we can to elect 4 congressional candidates across the state in races that we should be able to win overwhelmingly, and then be able to take back a couple seats in the House and a couple seats in the Senate. And who knows, with JFK being in the race, you might be able to get Trump across the finish line. And if we as a Republican Party are able to do that, I think that is a huge success. I think having to deal with this chaos in the middle of that whole scenario is just foolhardy. And I think that the people that are pushing this want to mark up Dave Williams more than they want to save our state and elect Republicans in November.
Talking with former state senator Ted Harvey, Stephen's argument yesterday, Steve Peck, the chairman of the Douglas County Republican Party, is that we're heading towards disaster under Dave Williams' leadership. He can't build a coalition. A number of the folks that he promoted during the primary lost. So he's not in touch with grassroots conservatives. And if we stay with Dave Williams now, things are going to be worse for Republicans in November. What's your response to him?
Well, I'm not sure who he's talking to when it comes to the grassroots Republicans across the state. I would argue that the majority of the Douglas County Central Committee is the definition of the grassroots of the party, and the majority of them signed that letter yesterday in support of Dave Williams and not having this vacancy election. I think Steve, on his own, went out there and put himself single-handedly out there against the grassroots. And I think I have a much better feel of the grassroots in Douglas County than Steve does.
But do you think that Dave has a good sense of who can win this November when he faced all of those endorsements and they didn't come through during the primaries? I don't remember the exact percentage. I think maybe it was 14 of 18 of his endorsements were not successful. So the question I just have for you is, under Dave Williams' leadership of the Colorado Republican Party, are we going to win in November?
Well, I think we definitely have a chance to win all 4 seats in November, and I hope we do. Gabe Evans was my aide in the legislature when he was 17 years old. I've known Abe for a long time. And certainly Lauren's going to win, and I've known Jeff Crank forever as well, and I'm confident he's going to win. So I think we're going to win those seats. I don't know Jeff Hurd. I've never met him, but obviously that is a +9 Republican district. We should be winning that race. So we have every opportunity to win those seats. And I find it frustrating when I hear people say Dave Williams endorsed these people. Dave Williams didn't endorse these people. The Republican Party did, based on the direction of the State Central Committee. The State Central Committee has voted regularly, consistently, that they will support the candidates that go through the caucus and assembly process, and they will only support those that come through the caucus and assembly process, not people that petition on. And we do that in Douglas County as well. And Steve Peck did that in Douglas County in this primary process as well. Those who didn't go through the assembly process were not promoted, were not supported in Douglas County. And Douglas County and Steve Peck did the exact same thing. Where I disagree with what the State Central Committee told Dave Williams to do is to only support those candidates that came through the assembly process and got on the ballot through the assembly process. I think if you petition on and then you get your 10%, like Jerry Sonnenberg did and Richard Holtorf did and Deb Flora did in my race in the 4th Congressional District, I think the party should stay out of it, because they all went through the caucus and assembly process, and that's the way I think it should work. The State Central Committee didn't agree with me. So Dave Williams was following their direction and endorsed the candidates who got the most votes coming out of the assembly process. And I disagree with that, but that's the way the State Central Committee voted. That's not to say that Dave did it arbitrarily on his own.
I appreciate that analysis. We're talking with State Senator Ted Harvey, former State Senator Ted Harvey, about this upcoming effort to have a vote to oust Chairman Dave Williams, the chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. Todd Watkins, Nancy Pelosi, and Steve Peck have all raised concerns about Chairman Williams utilizing state party funds to help advance his own effort in Congressional District 5 during the primary against Jeff Crank. Do you have any response to their accusations there?
Well, from what I understand, the state party treasurer had a Zoom call with people who wanted to learn more about that issue and showed everybody the books and told everybody how it worked and explained to everybody that the candidates that utilize the state party's nonprofit permit process. They utilized that. The party sent out the literature, and the candidates reimbursed the state party for even more than what was expended on behalf of the candidates through the nonprofit thing. I didn't listen into the call, but that's essentially what it was. The candidates reimbursed the state party for any funds that the state party used to send out the mail through the nonprofit permit, and no candidates were utilizing state funds to fund their campaigns.
Sure.
Including Dave Williams.
Yesterday, I asked Steve Peck, you're concerned about unity, and yet you've joined with an effort that seeks to oust the current sitting chairman of the Colorado Republican Party. And I'll close with this: former state senator Ted Harvey. I keep going back to state senator. Maybe it's an omen. We'll see you back in office again. But former state senator Ted Harvey, do you think that Steve Peck, Todd Watkins, Nancy Pelosi are contributing to greater division by seeking to oust chairman of the state party, Dave Williams, or are they just having a disagreement and we can work through this and come together to try to win in November? What do you think is really happening here?
Well, of course, they're creating division. Dave Williams and the entire state party team has been having to fight this very issue rather than going out and raising money and working with all of the candidates to be successful in November. They're hiring attorneys, working with attorneys, trying to stop this, what I believe is an inappropriate meeting this Saturday, and trying to make sure that the state party is functioning correctly moving forward. While we should be raising money, we should be promoting our candidates, we should be doing everything that state parties do to have a successful general election. Instead, Dave Williams and the state party is having to fight what I think is this ill-advised tax on him at a time when we should be uniting our party and doing everything Donald Trump said to do at the national convention last week, which was unite our party all behind an effort to elect Republicans and elect Donald Trump, and make sure that we can fight what is obviously what we have seen over the last 2 weeks, an effort by the radical left in our own government, I fear, to do everything they can to subvert the republic and to subvert the voters and the citizens of this country.
Former state senator Ted Harvey responding to Steve Peck's interview and letter yesterday from the show as well. You can see both sides of this issue if you go to 710knus.com to download the podcast there. Ted, I really appreciate you taking time to be on the Jeff and Bill show. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day. God bless.
I want to talk to you all about my friends at Roll 'em Out Shelves. I got to know Joyce and Brent Tolliver, absolutely delightful people. And if you're a fellow homeowner dreaming about effortlessly transforming your home into a haven of organization and efficiency, well, we've got the solution for you. Roll 'em Out Shelves. Let me paint you a picture of my recent experience with Joyce and Brent from Roll 'em Out Shelves. It was like having family walk through my door. Seriously, these folks aren't just professional. They're meticulous, caring, and very personable. Working with them felt like having my mom and brother right there beside me, kind, considerate, and always making everything just right. And let me tell you, their attention to detail is unparalleled. They measured every nook and cranny, asked all the right questions, and ensured that every shelf and drawer was tailor-made to fit my needs perfectly. The result? Say goodbye to chaos and hello to beautifully organized shelves showcasing all my essentials. But here's the best part. You don't have to break the bank for this type of transformation. For less than $1,000, you can embark on your very own home makeover journey with Roll 'em Out Shelves. And let me assure you, these shelves are built to last, crafted from sturdy Baltic birch built right here in Colorado and backed by a lifetime guarantee. You can trust that your space will stay organized for years to come. So what are you waiting for? Give Joyce and Brent, the dynamic duo behind Roll 'em Out Shelves, a call today at 303-475-9601 or visit their website at rollemoutshelves.com. Believe me, every single day I go home after this to make lunch, to access our Tupperware. It's so much easier. I love what they've done at our house.
And you know, Jeff, my mom just the other day, I was chatting with her and she mentioned it as well.
Yeah.
And what she talked about, because they've done it in the bathroom, and what she talked about is not having to bend over and to reach down into the back of that cabinet
100%.
in order to get the things that she needs. As she's getting older, that movement is more difficult. And with the roll-em-out shelves, it is easy to access everything underneath her bathroom sinks, both of them that she has, without worrying about having to stretch, strain, or also lose that stuff. Because, when we moved her out of the last place, you get to that back like 3 inches, and it's stuff you haven't seen in years. It's like you're an archaeologist all of a sudden. Yeah, so rollemoutshelves.com. Check them out. They're fantastic.
They're great. Phone lines are full. I think we want to talk Dave Williams, so we'll get to you all next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in the UK, I'm John Beaver, and here are the top stories we're following. Donald Trump's attempted assassination was the most significant operational failure at the Secret Service in decades, according to the head of the protection agency. Kimberly Cheatle faced a bipartisan grilling as she defended herself against accusations of incompetence following the former president's shooting. Benji Hire reports.
Lawmakers in Congress sharpened their attacks on the Secret Service's boss, demanding to know how Donald Trump ended up just millimetres from death. They questioned for nearly 5 hours why the rooftop from which the gunman fired remained open, why the former president was allowed to take the stage at that rally, despite indications of a potential threat. But Kimberly Cheatle stood firm, giving high praise to her agents and swatting away calls for her to resign. An FBI investigation into the incident is ongoing.
The US will provide an additional $60 million of humanitarian aid for Haiti. The announcement was made by the US envoy to the United Nations on a visit to the Caribbean nation. The US will also provide a significant number of mine-resistant vehicles to help tackle endemic gang violence. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm John Beaver in the UK on Salem News Channel.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now, there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Just wrapped up an interview with former state senator Ted Harvey as we discussed this effort by some Republicans to get him out of here. Get chairman of the Republican Party, Dave Williams, out of here. Steve Peck, chairman of the Douglas County Republicans, joined us yesterday to discuss this issue. And Ted Harvey responded. Let's go to the phone lines. Joy from Parker. Joy, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710, KNUS. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I just don't know where to start with Ted. First of all, I wrote a piece. I'm Joy Overbeck. I wrote a piece for Complete Colorado, and it's about how Dave Williams has burned down the grassroots with what he's been doing with the party, because he's making our tent smaller all the time, and Ted is helping him with that. What's happening is that Todd Watkins' meeting is completely comports with the rules of the party. Anybody can look them up, Article 7, D3, and Article 5, Section C. What Ted was saying about the executive committee declaring this meeting on the 27th illegal and fraudulent is completely wrong. It never says in the bylaws that there has to be any kind of signature. It says just, a third of the committee members have to be on a list, and that's just what Todd did. So it doesn't say there have to be any affidavits. I mean, Ted is just making all this stuff up. And the other thing is that if we want a party, first of all, the RNC is probably going to step in and adjudicate this. That's what they did in another instance when there was a fight over who was actually the chair. If indeed we can get the committee members, the state central committee, to vote Dave out. What he's been doing is using party money, 60 grand so far. That's why he paid back 60 grand for 3 or 4 different mailers that eviscerate our good, actually Jeff Crank, of course, who was running against Dave Williams. You're not allowed to, and also against our great CD8, CD8 candidate Gabe Evans, calling him all kinds of names and saying that he was for open borders and all this stuff. And Dave Williams was apparently ignoring that actually Gabe was endorsed by Trump. And he said in this piece, this mailer, that he's, a rhino and all the usual nonsense that they do. So what Dave has been doing has made the Republican National Committee stop funding Colorado Republicans, and that's what everybody is really worried about underneath all this this gabble over what's happening with these meetings. We're not going to have any money, and also the candidates who Dave Williams endorsed, they lost in 14 out of 18 of the races in which Dave Williams and the party endorsed. So what's happening is those candidates who won don't think they're going to get any party money because Dave Williams kind of hates them because he endorsed against them.
Joy, I asked Steve this yesterday. Well, okay, so if not Dave Williams, who?
Well, of course, Steve is running. That's why he was on your show. That's why he wrote that letter alienating all of his gang in Douglas County, and it was very surprising to a lot of people, his longtime Confederates, like Ted. So that's why he said that he would be willing to step down as Douglas County chair because he thinks he can be. Well, the irony is that his letter seems to despair over the very same, with Dave doing the very same things that Steve Peck has been doing all this time along with Ted. In other words, he's been creating discord and division by weaponizing the Douglas County Purity Patrol, is what I call them, before the primary to undermine and sabotage our good candidates like Lisa Frizzell, who's running for Senate District 2, who's a representative now and goes to the well and just hammers the Democrats.
But Joy, so it sounds like we're just getting more division. So, we're just going you're saying Steve has been divisive in his leadership. Dave's divisive in his leadership. And so is the Republican Party just going to continue to spiral to irrelevancy with this type of divisiveness?
Well, that's a good question, Jeff. There might be somebody else who steps up besides Steve. I think Steve is just a Dave Williams mini-me because I'm a precinct leader here in Douglas County and I've observed him. I used to be a big Steve fan, and I encourage him to run for first vice chair, second vice chair, whatever it was. And so he did. He was in charge of get out the vote in Highlands Ranch when we lost HD 43 to a Democrat, first time in Douglas County, very red county, in a million years that we've had a Democrat. And so he helped lose that seat for us. And with his lack of leadership with the get out the vote effort, and now he blames the Republican candidate. He says he was a terrible candidate. Well, you just don't do that. So I'm afraid we'll just exchange one bad apple for another, one bad actor for another. But, that's a good question. Who can we get to lead the party? Hopefully somebody will step up on this Saturday at this meeting in Brighton, because we just, I don't know that Steve would do the things exactly that Dave would, but certainly he's in that direction. He used the parties.
But I think that's always been part of my complaint, even going back to Nancy, and Kyle Clark clipped me on this. But there's that old saying that if you're going for the king, you better not miss. Every effort, from my perspective, to get Dave Williams out has been half-baked. It has no sense of who's going to replace him, the vision to pull the party together. It just seems like, well, he's just got to go. We just got to get him out of here. I'm like, okay, well, who are we going to replace him with? And then what I'm hearing from you, Joy, is that you place him with Steve Peck. Well, a lot of the same problems are just going to continue. So I guess my message to Republicans is if Dave Williams is so bad, we've got to replace him, then have somebody that can build vision and a coalition around leadership, because that's what people want in this state.
Yeah.
They want winning. They want to win.
Yeah,
They don't care about the drama. Whether it's city council, county commissioner, mayor's races, school board races, congressional races, the bottom line is the Republican Party needs to be winning, and it's going to take a person that can step up and lay that vision and build that coalition to get us to a place of winning. So I'm not confident. I'm not confident this effort Saturday is going to do much.
Well, other people will be running. Of course, it's got to be a process, and if there's a new chair, if Williams is ousted on Saturday, then immediately there'll be an election for a new chair. So hopefully somebody, like you're describing, will step up and run. And then we can go forward, and the Republican National Committee will give us money so we can elect our great candidates instead of putting $60,000, erroneously, of party money against our good candidates before the primary, as Dave Williams has done, and used the Republican Party's mailing permit, which is for a nonprofit and is not transferable to a campaign, as Dave Williams and Janet Josie did. Hopefully we'll get somebody who's honest and ethical, and that person can lead the party. We'll have to see who steps up on Saturday, if indeed the vote goes to oust Williams.
Now, Joy Overbeck, I really appreciate you spending time today with us on the Jeff and Bill show. I'm going to ask you the same question that I asked Ted Harvey. I need just for a moment here. You, Jeff, and I are going to play Let's Pretend. We are going to not have Dave Williams as the head of the Republican Party. In fact, we are going to have some anonymous character named Bo Jiden. We're just going to pick that out of the air. So he's going to be named Bo Jiden, and he's now running the Colorado GOP. Is it smarter strategically to remove Mr. Jiden now or after the election early next year? What are your thoughts?
You mean to remove Dave Williams now?
I'm just saying in general, would it be smarter just even because what I don't want to do is I don't want to make this what I'm trying to do is remove the idea of this being about Dave. I just want to talk about this from the 10,000 foot, the idea of what's smarter strategically. If we were going to make a change in a head coach for the team, is it smarter to do it now or smarter to do it early next year? What are your thoughts?
Well, as I say, if you look at, apparently Dave hasn't called any of the CD winners because, of course, he's not endorsed any of them. He's actually acted against them. In other words, Gabe Evans and Jeff Crank and Jeff Hurd. Apparently he's not called any of them and made strategy calls and, hey, we'll give you this kind of money for your campaign mailers, which is what the party should be doing. That's what the party is all about, is helping our candidates win, as you say. And so the candidates are very suspect, a lot of them, of Dave Williams' eventual agreeability to giving them money so they can win. So that's one of the top line concerns of the candidates and taking our state back for the Republicans. If we've got somebody who's anger and toxic kind of discrimination against people who won. Because you remember, again, the party, meaning Dave Williams, endorsed 14 candidates in some of these contested races across the state, and they lost all but 4 of their endorsees. So the people who are now the nominees are not people who Dave Williams favors. Okay, so I'd say that the immediate need is to finance those candidates through our party coffers, and also the big donors like Phil Anschutz and others are stepping away from the party because Rhino Watch and all those nonsensical people have come against Anschutz, who's one of the biggest donors of our party, and he's like, I'm done.
Joy, I appreciate the call. We're just out of time. Joy
thank
Overbeck, she's written about this. I believe you can read that at Complete Colorado. So we're having all sides of the Colorado Republican Party telenovela taking place here.
And Saturday is going to be very, very interesting. And let's see, Ted Harvey had told us that if they don't get the right proportionate. Oh yeah.
Speaking of telenovelas,
oh my God, that'd be great. Or do that. What's that? The thing that that's trying to replace UFC that came out of Russia, the slap fight thing, where they stand there instead of the arm wrestling, they stand there and just smack each other in the face.
Dave versus Steve.
Oh
in
my
a
God, that
slap
would be
fight.
great. Oh God,
winner takes control of the Republican Party. Hey, life in Colorado is awesome this time of year, but not so much if you got that joint pain in your knees and shoulders. The good news is that QC Kinetics is here with the most advanced treatment using regenerative medicine. This is important because they harness the healing power from your own body to restore and repair your damaged joint tissue. I've got family members that just recently had big surgery, and oh man, the recovery is forever. And once they start slicing and dicing, you get infections and all those complications. So many of our listeners have engaged with QC Kinetics and regenerative medicine, and they are grateful they are living pain-free. QC Kinetics can get you moving again with no surgery, no drugs, no downtime. It's the future of medicine, and the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics can get you started with a free consultation. QC has clinics in Aurora and Superior. If your shoulder or back is always hurting, if it hurts to walk or lift something, you need to check them out and get lasting relief. Do it now so you can enjoy the Colorado summertime like you deserve. Joel in our office here works with QC Kinetics. He is getting some work done on his back, and he told me he did a 5-mile hike, and he's pain-free in a way he hasn't been in years. Next generation joint pain relief is here at QC Kinetics, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986. Get a free consultation today. QCkinetics.com. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
What? Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. It's been a great show. You can listen to the podcast at 710knus.com or go to all the social medias and watch the show and see our smiling faces there. We'll be back tomorrow. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Enjoy your Tuesday.